Ladies and gentlemen, can I have your attention? Ask you to please take your seats. Actually, I'm going to ask you to please rise. This is the Town Board meeting of Tuesday, February 27th, 2018. And before we begin our regular business here this evening, let us take this opportunity to join together for a moment of silence in memory of the victims and the loved ones of the recent mass shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. May those who are injured quickly heal, and may those who have passed rest in peace. Tonight's prayer will be led by Father Gerard Gentleman of Holy Family Roman Catholic Church in Hicksville. Holy Family Roman Catholic Church is a parish community where all are welcome. Parishioners come together to worship, to celebrate the sacraments, and live and teach the gospel through education, community, love, and the services available to families and to the entire community. The church's Holy Family School is well known for teaching the values of education while recognizing the value of teaching. This allows the school's administration and teachers to adhere to the philosophy that making a difference one day at a time is the best way to get it done. Father, would you please lead us in prayer?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I spent over 20 and a half years as a priest, and all of them in the town of Oyster Bay, so it's great to be able to pray for all of you this evening. So let us bow our heads and ask the Lord to hear us as we pray. Lord God, we thank you for the gifts and talents that you have bestowed upon this community, which seeks to serve your people, to do good, and to build up this community as a sign and symbol of your many blessings. We ask you this night to bless all those who serve in public office, that they may continue to live the mindset of servants, of servant leadership, be mindful of the needs of those who are most in need. We pray that they may have the courage to lead well, and that they may have the compassionate heart to listen to all those who are in need. Lord God, during these troubled times, we ask you to continue to help us to have hope, to see the light when there is darkness, and to continue to encourage one another, to live lives of faith and justice. And we ask all these things in your most holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Father, and God bless you. Our Pledge of Allegiance this evening will be led by a very special local hero, East Norwich firefighter Jessica Crowley, who we will be honoring in just a few minutes. Jessica, if you would come forward and please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jessica, and we'll be bringing you up shortly. Please have a seat. Great job, Jessica. Thank you to you, and thank you to all of our first responders who are never afraid to put themselves in harm's way to protect our lives, our properties, and our communities. We owe you so much. We're very happy that you're here this evening, all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, with the recent tragedy in Parkland, Florida, touching our hearts and in our minds, I directed the Department of Public Safety to partner with the Nassau County Police Department. Some of our heroes from the Nassau County Police Department are with us this evening. We appreciate them so much. It's a shame that it takes a tragedy to remind us how important our emergency responders are. But we are reminded each and every day through the so many stories that we hear, whose house went on fire, who was taken away in an ambulance, their life saved, who got the cat out of a tree, who found the lost child and brought them home. So with that in mind, we are partnering with our heroes in the Nassau County Police Department to offer 2 situational awareness lectures teaching residents how to recognize the potential warning signs and learn proactive survival strategies during active shooter situations. There are 2 lectures. The same lecture will be repeated in 2 different locations on 2 dates to make it convenient for as many town residents who would like to attend this free event. The lectures are going to take place on Thursday, March 8th at 7 p.m., right here in Town Hall North in Oyster Bay, and on Thursday, March 22nd at 7 p.m. in the Community Center at Marjorie Post Park in Massapequa. Residents may attend either lecture and are asked to pre-register online by going to our site, www.oysterbaytown.com. That's oysterbaytown.com. The reality is that the safety of our children and our residents is our utmost priority. And working with the Nassau County Police Department, we will continue to advance education and preparedness and these measures that will ensure, as best as is humanly possible, the safety of all of our residents. And on that note, I'd like to also recognize the Town of Oyster Bay Department of Public Safety, led by Commissioner Justin McCaffrey. You do an exceptional job over and over on so many situations, including lives saved on the water by our Bay Constables. Now on to a lighter note. 2 weeks ago, I joined with Councilwoman Johnson in announcing that taxpayers will be saving $1.4 million through the installation of energy-efficient LED light bulbs and fixtures at our town hall facilities. The town recently completed the conversion to from bulbs to LEDs in Town Hall South and is currently converting both buildings here at Town Hall North. In total, more than 1,000 LED bulbs and fixtures will be installed, and they are being paid through a grant we secured by PSE&G Long Island, not by our taxpayers, and our town employees will be installing these fixtures and bulbs. Through this process, the town of Oyster Bay will realize significant savings, reoccurring savings, each and every year. We changed out 1,200 bulbs to LEDs last year, saving $500,000 from the cost, our energy costs. So it's amazing savings. It's obvious we should be doing that. I'm very proud to be working with all of my colleagues here in government to do the right thing by our residents and to do what's smart and obvious. And we're going to continue to change out these bulbs and all of our street lighting year by year and continue to do the right thing, what's best for our environment and clearly for our taxpayers. And these are reoccurring savings, which is one of the best parts of all financially. The energy-efficient lighting solutions offer the highest quality light and cost efficiency while providing long-term durability, which means less maintenance, less stock, less of the bulbs have to be replaced. They last for many, many years. In addition to energy efficiency and savings achieved at the town facilities, the Highway Department has saved millions of dollars by replacing bulbs on state, county, and town roadways, as well as bridge underpasses and in our parking lots. The town maintains over 21,000 lighting fixtures, and this town board and all of our leaders and our elected officials in this town are 100% committed to replacing these bulbs. We will no longer utilize high-pressure or low-pressure sodium bulbs on our roadways, and we project out by 2024, all of the bulbs in the town will be converted to LED. Also on our agenda, earlier this month, we announced efforts to save the historic mural at Hicksville Sears. Together with Councilman Imbrodo, Councilwoman Johnson, and many local leaders from the Hicksville School District, from many areas in the Hicksville community, we gathered through this joint effort to save the G. Hunter Jones mural located on the wall in the Hicksville Sears store, and it's been there since the 1960s. It's in great shape, by the way. Sears recently announced plans to close its doors in April, leaving the fate of this 15-foot by 20-foot mural in jeopardy. We thank the property owner for their commitment to funding the feasibility study needed to determine how the mural can best be saved, and we'll be continuing to talk about this among our board members and in the community to determine the best way. So far it hasn't cost taxpayers a dime. The company buying the property paid for the study. We'll be working with a company, or a nationwide company, known for this type of work. This mural is a piece of the town's history and has great meaning specifically to the Hicksville community. Our intention is to ensure the mural's preservation for generations to come, and our desire is for it to remain right here in a location within the town of Oyster Bay. We have much to be proud of in the town of Oyster Bay, especially this month, including the work of two of our town employees. First, we recognize Community and Youth Services employee Monica Higgins as the town's Employee of the Month. Monica has dedicated her career to the town as a youth group worker who has established a distinguished record of excellence. We want to thank Monica for her good work. We're joined today by the Commissioner and the Deputy Commissioner, Commissioner Fitzgerald and Deputy Commissioner Pat Beckerly of the department. Please send Monica our best wishes and let her know we all appreciate so many years of tremendous dedication to our town and to its residents. Second, we congratulate Bay Constable Christopher D'Antone of Bethpage, as he just recently graduated from the Nassau County Police Academy, and some of our officers in uniform in the back of the room know what that's like, going through that experience. We thank Chris for his service. We wish him and all of our officers safe endeavors, and we, again, appreciate everyone who wears the uniform in the fire services and the police services, emergency responders, all for their work to protect our families, lives, and properties here in Nassau County. We'd also like to thank our departments of Community and Youth Services and Parks for the staycation programs they offered families last week while the children were off from school. This is something we have been doing for a number of months here in the town of Oyster Bay to ensure that there's great recreational opportunities, especially last year and this year and going forward for our families. We understand we want to make sure their tax dollars go very far, and that they are saving money when they're staying home with lots of activities. Most of them are free or very low cost, and we appreciate the foresight and the planning of your departments in Parks and Community and Youth Services and the many departments that work together to make these weeks off from school very special. And I know this is going to be one of the best summers the town of Oyster Bay has ever experienced. One of the spots I spent some time at it was the ice rink, and it was so much fun, and tremendous kudos to all of those at the ice rink who make it very special for our families and our community. We'd also like to thank and recognize, the upcoming events to bring to the public's attention before we move forward with the calendar. On Saturday, March 10th, the town will host an ice hockey all-star invitational featuring middle school, junior varsity, and varsity players. Councilman Muscarella asked that I remind residents that admission is free to this special event. However, we encourage attendees to support Island Harvest by bringing canned goods for the disadvantaged. Talk about winter sports and skating and so forth. Like many of us, I was riveted by the Winter Olympics and the success of our American athletes during the last few weeks, particularly our gold medal winners, all of our medal winners, and everyone who gave us such inspiration. I never thought in a million years that I'd be glued to the television for curling, but I was. Despite the odds, they preserved with hard work, determination, teamwork. The list goes on, from the gold medal women's Olympic ice hockey team to folks in the downhill, the Super G, we mentioned curling. It was just felt so good and reminded us how special we are to be Americans, and also reminded us about togetherness and the importance of staying together for a common cause. To watch North and South Korea playing on the same team. Boy, oh boy, if the North and South Koreans can come together and work in unison, then each and every one of us in the town of Oyster Bay, Americans all, can work together for the betterment and the improvement of our beloved town. We'll work hard to accomplish our goals, overcome obstacles, and continue to embrace teamwork and grit and determination. Speaking of the Olympics, on Saturday, March 10th, the town will host Freezin' for a Reason, the polar bear plunge benefiting the Special Olympics and our Special Olympic athletes. Please join us at Tobay Beach as we dive into the chilly waters to raise funds for the athletes of the Special Olympics, New York. Councilman Lewin Brodo, you joined me last year, jumping into the cold waters to lead the team into the water. I'm counting on you doing the same this year. Will you be doing that?
Only if Councilwoman Alessi is there with us.
Well, there you go.
She'll be there, but she won't jump in.
That leaves things. Will you be there to cheer us on?
I will be there to cheer you on.
That's wonderful.
Thank you for
Councilman?
giving me out.
Councilman, anyone else? Councilwoman? Councilman Tom Hand, are you in?
We'll be there to support you.
I will say, last
Take the
year,
pictures also.
it's not as cold as you think it is. It was a lot of fun.
It's not cold.
It was cold, but it was fun.
Coming out, it's cold. Not going in.
Well, if that doesn't work out, I know Councilman McEnome was dying to do it, but the 10th of March just didn't work out for him. But we have another opportunity that might work out better for your schedule. And that's on Sunday, March 18th, when residents will also take a plunge into the waters at Theodore Roosevelt Park.
Supervisor, this is the day after St. Patrick's Day. I think I could use a good dip in the cold water that day. I'll be there with you.
Great. Perfect. Thank you. Because that day, we'll be at Theodore Roosevelt Park in Oyster Bay to support Cerebral Palsy Association of Nassau County, another wonderful charity. And getting a little wet, a little cold is a small price to pay to help those with cerebral palsy. So we want to get the message out. And even if you have zero intention of jumping in the water, please share the information with friends and loved ones. Maybe we can get a challenge going among our firefighters who might be interested. One department challenging another department to help out with the cause. I see a lot of people shaking their heads no. Okay. Well, if diving into the chilly waters isn't for you, we have a great opportunity to protect our environment on Saturday, March 24th at Tobay Beach. Also known as Dune Day, residents of all ages are welcome to help us protect and preserve our beautiful shoreline and our environment by planting thousands of stalks of dune grass. Dunes along our South Shore continue to, and quite frankly on both shores, continue to be impacted by damaging storms that have had a significant effect on the beach. This dune stabilization project will help preserve our beaches and our barrier islands now, in the short-term future, and also for many generations to come. We have a great surprise for you soon at this meeting that all of us who enjoy hockey, and especially professional hockey, are going to get a great thrill. So it makes sense to dovetail to mention that last year we were joined by Bobby Nystrom at our Dune Day, and we are encouraging all of our favorite teams, the Rangers, the Islanders, everyone, to come out and enjoy a very special day. I see we're joined by some of our baymen who are here and who also play an important role in keeping our focus on protecting our waters and protecting our environment. And I want to also take a moment to thank them for their dedication and for reminding us of our pristine resources. I think I also see our mayor here, the mayor of Bayville, Mayor Rupp, someone I was so proud and privileged to join with this past weekend, a dear friend to this town, and certainly a tremendous leader of leaders in the village of Bayville. How about a big hand for all we have joining us today? Talk about sports. On March 24th, there's just so many things going on in the town of Oyster Bay. It truly is a new day in Oyster Bay, and you hear us say that a lot, but boy, oh boy, we have so many activities. The vast majority of them are free. On March 24th, the town, in partnership with the New York Knicks, will host a free Junior Knicks basketball clinic at the Hicksville Athletic Center for boys and girls age 5 through 14. This is a great opportunity, by the way, that's 5 through 14 to participate, but children and adults of all ages are welcome to come and watch and have a great time. And it is a great opportunity for everyone to learn about the sport of basketball from some of the area's finest coaches and players. Space is limited and will be filled on a first-come, first-served basis. Again, to register to this event or to find more details about this event or all of the programs we've been speaking about, and quite frankly, so many, there's so many, too many to list, but our residents can find out about all of those programs by visiting our website at www.oysterbaytown.com. We also remind our residents who are pet lovers, and all of us are, certainly. By the way, on the subject of basketball, I hope Councilman McAnulman is going to be there because he is way taller than me. He was a college star in lacrosse, and I think if we go one-on-one, I know who's going to win that one. I might have some hockey under my belt, but I wouldn't be able to keep up with you in terms of on the hardwoods for hoops. So for pet lovers, we have a local pet food collection drive, and that is going on right now, and that continues straight through March 30th. We'd love to get that message out, and all in the media here today help us collect food and different pet items at all of our locations. We're working with Long Island Cares. We're collecting pet food donations to feed animals who are either animals in need or attached to families in need. And this keeps pets at home with their families and their loved ones, and quite frankly helps to keep them out of shelters. The collection boxes are located at our Town of Oyster Bay Animal Shelter, Town Hall North, Town Hall South, the Hicksville Athletic Center, and the ice skating rink in Bethpage. So the Town of Oyster Bay, all of us here on the town board, take, as well as all of our electeds and all of our town family, we take special pleasure in recognizing individuals who display great heroism and poise in helping others in time of crisis. We're very fortunate to have several of those individuals with us this evening. On July 29th, 2017, at approximately 5 a.m. on Kellogg Street in Oyster Bay, a house was engulfed in flames. East Norwich firefighter Jessica Crowley, who was staying at a friend's house, was the first on the scene. She, along with former Nassau County legislator Donald McKenzie and Nassau County's 2nd Precinct police officer William Massari, they all joined together to help save a life of a male resident that was trapped on a roof. Grabbing a nearby ladder, the trio put concerns of their own personal safety aside, braved the difficult and dangerous conditions, and effectively helped rescue this distressed person. Despite injuries to an Oyster Bay firefighter and 2 occupants of the home, there was no loss of life, thanks to the calm and courageous actions of those who first responded. We, the Oyster Bay Town Board, and all of our elected officials hereby join in publicly acknowledging and commending East Norwich firefighter Jessica Crowley former Nassau County Legislator Donald McKenzie, and Nassau County Police Officer William Massari. Their alert and essential actions were life-saving and exceedingly worthy of the town's highest honor. Our esteemed heroes are joined by the respective family members and the chief of the East Norwich Volunteer Fire Company, Wayne Placella, a great friend and a very good man. Also joining us tonight are seniors from the Life Enrichment Center who were so touched by this demonstration of bravery. So we are going to ask our heroes, including firefighter Jessica Crowley, police officer William Massari, and the Honorable Don McKenzie, to please step forward so we can present you with these honors. And I'm going to ask my colleagues on the town board to help present. Let's go down there and help present these to them.
Shoulder back.
Mayor, would you like to join us for one of the photos? Congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, how about another big hand for firefighter Jessica Crowley, for police officer William Massari, and the Honorable Don McKenzie, and all of the members of the East Norwich Fire Company. Thank you very, very much. We appreciate your heroism, your bravery, and the fact that you're there to protect us each and every day. God bless you all. Thank you. Should have taken a photo with the whole department.
Too much time again.
We have another very special treat for everyone. This evening, the Oyster Bay Town Board is also proud to welcome representatives and members from the New York Rangers Hockey Club. A few months ago, the New York Rangers Alumni Association selected the town of Oyster Bay Ice Skating Center in Bethpage to be the venue, and they could have chosen from facilities all over America, and they chose us, the town of Oyster Bay, putting us first and putting us on the map. And what was held was a very special benefit ice hockey game. part of the Rangers Assist program presented by Chase Bank. The game supports youth hockey programs such as the one operated by the town of Oyster Bay. The night provided an opportunity for hockey fans from throughout the local area to see legendary New York Rangers play. Names like Ron Duguay, Stefan Matteau, Pete Stemkowski, and Gilles Villemure. All right, I'm a Rangers and an Islanders fan. Now, some hockey fans, like us, even had the opportunity to lace up their skates and play alongside of some of the game's greatest players. It was truly an amazing thrill to join with the New York Rangers for such a memorable moment. It's one of my lifelong dreams, and to play along with such greats was truly a very special moment. But to know we were doing this to help the less fortunate, to help youngsters, and to introduce people to the great sport of ice hockey was just something beyond our wildest dreams. So we're so thankful. Now, the Town of Oyster Bay's hockey program has enabled us to work closely with the National Hockey League and the New York Rangers. It's a tremendous honor that the Rangers have selected the Town of Oyster Bay hockey program to be the recipient of its first Alumni Association hockey benefit game of the 2017-2018 season. Along with Rangers Assist and Chase, the New York Rangers Alumni Association is dedicated to increasing accessibility to hockey in the tri-state area. Whenever possible, they look forward to joining the community to help provide youth hockey programs with the necessary tools to build character, foster positive values, and develop skills both on and off the ice. Tonight, New York Rangers alumni Pete Stemkowski and Gilles Villemure are here to present a check to the Town of Oyster Bay's hockey program in the amount of $34,737. How about a big hand for them? Pete Stemkowski is our first up. He played for more than 15 seasons in the National Hockey League and won the Stanley Cup in 1967, but you look like you could have won it in 1994, quite frankly. He was a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs. While playing for the New York Rangers, Mr. Stemkowski scored 2 overtime goals in the Stanley Cup semifinals against the Chicago Blackhawks in 1971. Gilles was an outstanding member of the National Hockey League. He was a goaltender who shared duties in goal with New York Rangers legend Eddie Giacomin and shared the Vezina Trophy with the league's top goaltender with Giacomin in 1971. He was an NHL All-Star on several occasions and helped the Rangers reach the Stanley Cup Finals in 1972. Another big hand for Gilles, please. We are also joined by another professional hockey great, someone who has made a difference and certainly put his name on the map. Someone who we like to call Mr. Hockey in the Town of Oyster Bay, and he is our very own Buzz DeShams. Buzz played for Long Island, he's played in Canada, and many of his records have still not been surpassed. He's made such a difference to hockey players and is so instrumental with our Parks Department, working with Commissioner Pinto to make sure that hockey is available to children of all ages. And Buzz, we so appreciate your efforts, your dedication to the program, and working to make our ice rink one of the most special in all of America. Ladies and gentlemen, Buzz DeShams. Would you each like to take a turn and address us, please? Pete, would you like to start off?
Well, first of all, thank you. I know we're in Islander country.
Both.
Tonight.
Both.
We really appreciate that. And, a lot of people ask me, as a hockey player, whether my teeth are real or not. So, and believe me, when we played hockey, well, some of you would not remember, some of the old timers would, but we didn't wear helmets, no mouth guards, and, those pucks were going 100 miles an hour, and the goalkeepers didn't wear masks. And we got paid a lot less than the guys do today, so. But we had a game back in November, as I mentioned, supervisor, and it was a great event. And we had a full house at the hockey rink. It was a great game. I mean, it was competitive, and you were pretty good, by the way. I picked you as one of the 3 stars.
You need an optometrist besides a dentist, sir.
First of all, we walked in the locker room, I thought he was a defenseman. Wide shoulders. Tells me he's a forward, had a great night. You know something, the way you played, and the way we're changing our team lately, you've heard about all the trades. You never know, there might be a spot on our roster right there. But anyhow, we had a great event, and I especially enjoyed it because my team won. Okay, and it was a full house, and he was the other coach. I think it ended up 9-8, and Ron Duguay was, Steve Alliquette were there, a couple of our Ranger alumni, and they participated in the game. And what we do as the Rangers is we try to help up the minor league hockey. We'd rather see a kid, not on the street, or what they're doing now, they're all playing with their cell phones, and you don't see them on the fields, or we do see them on the field, but not as much as we used to on the hockey rinks. So it was a real great thrill for us to be there that night. We had a great time. Food was great, and drink afterwards. It was a pleasure meeting most of you that night, and Buzzy was certainly instrumental in helping that get off the ground, and my good friend Joe Villeneuve was there, and all the Ranger alumni, and we get a chance to participate in such a good cause. We're right there all the time. So on behalf of the New York Rangers and the New York Rangers Alumni Association, I want to present this check to the town of Oyster Bay.
Thank you. Wow. Mr. Villemere, would you like to say a few words?
I'm overwhelmed to be in a room like this. People like you guys, unbelievable. I didn't expect this to be here. Thank you very much for being here. And it was a pleasure helping Buzz and the whole organization to make some money to help those kids that don't have any. It's always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much. But we feel like the lucky ones to be in a room with you, all 3 of you, quite frankly. People we grew up watching, people we idolized, and now people we're working with to help others. We feel very, very lucky. Buzz, you want to say a few words?
Well, all I can say is that since you came on board, things are really getting done. And I don't know who makes the moves putting Mr. Pinto in the position he's in, but man, we got...
Town board did.
Well, the town board made a great decision. We got this town humming, and we've got lots of great surprises for the kids that want to play hockey. We'll probably end up with a women's team now because after the Olympics. But the support of the town board for the hockey program, everything I've ever asked for in the 4 years, they've been there to do it. And you can blame me for Joe because I coached them.
That's right. That's right.
The town's moving in the right direction, and I'm 78 years old. We got a 5-year contract, so I'll either be at Heinlein or I'll be weekend at Bernie's.
Thank you, Buzz, for those kind words. And the bottom line is that we operate just like you do, as a team. All of our elected officials, our town board members, our town clerk, Jim Altadonna, our receiver of taxes, Jim Stefanich, all of our departments, and we're very lucky to have the team we have, because in the town of Oyster Bay, we are going for the gold medal, and we're going to deliver for all of you and our residents. I'm going to ask all of our board members and our electeds to join you for the check presentation, and we have a very special a citation I'm going to ask Councilman Tom Hand to present to you. Did I get it right, or did I say?
Another big hand for our hero.
This is a private thing going on here. How's your shoulder? What happened? You get hurt?
Round of applause. New York Rangers.
Would Town Clerk James Altadonna Jr. please poll the board?
Sure. Supervisor Saladino? Councilman Muscarella?
Present.
Councilman McEnroe?
Here, Mr. Altadonna.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Alessia?
I am.
Good evening. Councilwoman Johnson?
Here.
Councilman Umberto?
Thrilled to be present, Jim.
And Councilman Ham.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very, very much. Ladies and gentlemen, for our process this evening, we have a long list of resolutions that we will be working on and hearing from you on, and then after we're done with our resolutions, we'll be staying for public comment. Just so you know the schedule, we're going to have to break for executive session to confer with our town attorney. I appreciate your patience. Just so you know the way public open meetings law works, we cannot meet unless it's in an open advertised meeting. So that's why we have to take these opportunities to meet to confer with our attorney. So I really appreciate your patience. We'll make it as quickly as possible and then get right back in here so you can observe our work. So if I may have a motion, please.
Supervisor, I'll make a motion that this town board go into executive session for the purposes of discussion regarding proposed, pending, and current litigation.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Thank you for your patience. We'll make this as quick as possible.
Yes.
Possible to give them an estimate about how long?
Yeah, the town attorney would tell us that usually it's about 20, 25 minutes.
Bishop. John Bishop.
Only because I see there's
Yep,
people with
yeah.
children in the audience as well.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. She was with us last night.
That's okay, I'm gonna turn it off.
Councilman Muscarella, may I have a motion?
Supervisor, I'll make a motion to close the executive session. No action was taken.
Councilman Macaron, second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, nay? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. Okay, we will now, would our town clerk please call the regular action calendar?
Sure. May I have a motion to suspend the rules and add resolutions number 130, 131, and 132? On the motion.
So moved.
Second, and Mr. Dunn, I don't believe your microphone is currently working.
I don't think anybody's.
Testing.
Testing.
Much better.
Better? Would you like me
want
to
to miss a
repeat that,
single word.
Councilman? Would you like me to repeat it?
Oh, I heard you, but you make no residence.
Motion was made by Councilman Muscarella, seconded by Councilman McEnon. On the vote, Supervisor Saladino?
We have public comment?
No, this is just to add it.
Oh,
to
I'm
the-
sorry.
Yes.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella?
Aye.
Councilman McEnon?
Aye.
Councilwoman Alessia?
Aye.
Councilwoman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilman Ambrodo?
Aye.
And Councilman Han.
Aye.
Motion to suspend the rules and add resolutions number 130, 131, and 132 passes with 7 ayes. May I have a motion to adopt resolutions number P5-18 through 132? On the motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Muscarella, seconded by Councilman McEnon. Supervisor, you have multiple speakers on many resolutions, starting with P5-18 through 120.
Our first speaker will be Mr. Paul Molinari. Hi, Paul. How are you?
Good evening, Mr. Supervisor.
Would you kindly start by giving us your full name and address for the record?
Sure. Paul Molinari, 332 West Nikolai Street, Hicksville, New York.
It was great to see you last night.
I didn't speak at the meeting because I'm a member of the committee, and I didn't think it was appropriate for me to say anything. That's why I didn't say anything. I listened to what the public had to say.
Well, that's the most important thing, that we're listening to the public to get it right in the revitalization of downtown Hicksville.
Yes, and we appreciate. I think the residents really appreciate the efforts of you and the rest of the town board. Thank you.
And the residents yourself that serve.
Thank you. I'm here on Resolution 108. I'm no municipal finance person, actually. That's why I have somebody, a financial advisor, handling my investments, because I always lost money whenever I tried to do it myself. But when reading through this resolution and the background material, you were retiring bonds that, I think they were bonds, issued in 2008 and 2010. And now you're going to go out and solicit new bonds. And I have a difficult time understanding it, because you're saying in the backup it says this is going to result in a cost saving to the town, which is good if it does. But I don't understand it. We issued bonds back in 2008 and 2010. The credit rating of the town was much better back then than it is now. So that's my question, is how could we be going out refinancing these bonds and expect a saving when the bond rating is lower than what it was when we issued those bonds?
I am so glad you asked that question, because this issue is very important to demonstrate the successes of this town. And I'll be bringing up our Director of Finance to explain the details, but the bottom line is we are already getting a better interest rate than before. So when you talk about what the bond rating has been rated at, we're already have so many more investors, and therefore we're in a much better situation in terms of our bonds. The financial community has been recognizing the dedication and the work to these extraordinary individuals you see on our town board, and we're benefiting by the tremendous changes we've been making to the finances in this town. And the end result is saving our taxpayers a tremendous amount of money. And to give us more specifics on this, I'm going to call up Mr. D'Arienzo, our Director of Finance. And thank you, Paul, for bringing up this issue to give us an opportunity to give a status on just how well the town is doing financially.
Good evening, Supervisor, Town Board members. Resolution 108 refers to a...
Start off by giving us your name for the record,
I'm
please.
sorry, Rob D'Arienzo, Director of Finance. Resolution 108 acknowledges the possibility for us to refund certain bond issues, one from 2008 and one from 2010. As the resident mentioned, our bond rating is not where it was back then, but also interest rates are lower than they were back then. So the bonds that were issued in those 2 years are now callable. And it's not my job to decide whether it's time for us to refund bonds or not. We have professionals that we hire, our financial advisors and our bond counsel. They let us know when there's opportunities to refund our debt. And they have a rule of thumb that if you can save 2% or more, much like when you have a mortgage, they tell you if you can save a certain percentage, that's when it's time to refinance. It's the same for our debt, and it's also 2%. So they ran the numbers, and they have estimated that we could save between 2 and 2.5% on these two bond issuances if, in fact, we refund them. Now, as I'm sure you all know, the market has been pretty volatile over the past month or so, and so market conditions change every day. But when they first brought it to us 2 or 3 weeks ago, the town would have saved $3.2 million if, in fact, we refunded that day. A week later, it was down to $2.8 million. As of last Thursday, February 22nd, it was $3.07 million. So whether it's 2.8, 3.0, 3.2,
Still saving.
we're going to save millions of dollars between now and 2027. It's roughly $400,000 per year.
That is absolutely great news. But I'm going to ask you a few questions for the benefit of the public and those watching this great news on television. This process is the same process that every municipality goes through?
I only work here, but I'm sure that is the case.
In terms
yes.
of hiring a outside bond counsel?
Absolutely.
So every municipality hires an outside bond counsel, gives advice, helps through the process so that the taxpayers can gain the largest financial benefit possible.
That would certainly be wise.
Okay. How much debt in total?
How much debt in total does the town have right now?
No, how much debt in total does this resolution represent if we refinance all of the debt on Resolution 108?
I think it's $78 million or so.
And we stand to, depending on you mentioned 3 scenarios. The largest of the 3, if that rate holds, how much do we stand to save?
It was $3.2 million when they first approached us.
So $3.2 million. So we'll be watching carefully to time it out appropriately.
The pricing will occur in late March, about a month from now,
Okay.
and it'll close in the late April.
And as the financial community takes a look at the town of Oyster Bay, what are they saying? What is their opinion of what we're doing to change the finances and the financial picture of the town of Oyster Bay?
They acknowledge we've made great strides over the past year and a half to turn things around. With that being said, and I've said it at this podium, they rely on completed audits by independent outside agencies to make real moves in terms of the bond rating. So 2016, we have a completed audit that showed our surplus being $17 million for that year. We're right now working on our 2017 audit, which I estimate will net us a surplus of roughly $13 million or more. So we've made great strides over the past 2 years. We continue to do so, and with that, the bond rating will be increased.
And how does the financial community look at the tremendous amount of money that we've paid down or paid off of the town's debt?
They think it's quite incredible that we've been telling them that we're going to be doing the right things, and now we're really doing them. So they've listened to us talk and tell them things over the years, and now we're actually doing them. So it's a credit to this town board.
So it certainly is a credit to the men and women in leadership in this town and all who take part, from our town clerk, our receiver of taxes, and all of our board members. So we made promises that we were going to pay down substantial amounts of our debt, and we followed through, and we've done that. How much did we pay off in 2017?
In 2017, we reduced our debt by $85 million townwide.
We paid off $85 million. How much are we scheduled to pay off in 2018?
Well, paying off and reducing is two different things. We're going to pay off roughly, let's say, $90 million, we're going to pay off roughly $80 million and issue roughly $30 million. So we're going to reduce our debt by $50 million in 2018.
The 2 years combined, what percentage of the town's overall debt is that equal?
It's a total of $135 million, which is between 21 and 22% of our overall debt.
And as municipalities go, would that be considered very, very significant?
We can't do any better. Yes, that's very significant.
Okay, I think we've answered Mr. Molinari's questions. Thank you so much, Mr. D'Arienzo.
No problem.
The next speaker is Lisa Reinhardt. Good evening, how are you?
Good evening, good. How's everybody?
Fine. Can you please start off by giving us your full name and full address for the record?
Lisa Reinhardt, 65 Elm Street, Hicksville.
Thanks for joining us tonight.
Sure.
And thanks for joining us yesterday, too.
I'm here whenever you guys are here. I wanted to talk about Resolution 111, amending parking permit fees. We just started a committee last night, so I was not thinking this was going to be on the agenda today. But would this be able to be tabled until after the committee finishes its work or until a public hearing is scheduled?
Two different things going on.
Okay.
The committee's assignment is to bring to the board the different options to add more parking spaces in the town of Oyster Bay. There's many ways to accomplish that. And of course, you're referring to our brand-new committee, which is the Town of Oyster Bay Commuter Parking Advisory Committee, which is co-chaired by Councilman Anthony McEnone, and I thank you very much for all your work. We have already held 3 listening sessions at 3 town board meetings on this resolution. Many things came of that. One of the facts came of that is that no one had a problem with it costing a quarter, 25 cents, to park for the day. We're proposing less than that, only 20 cents a day.
So per year, it's, I'm not good at math.
$50 per year.
$50 a year.
But just so you know, so we listened to the public. No one had a problem with the cost. That's one of the factors. The other factor is, the reason we've proposed this is because there is a very large cost to maintaining our lots, $8 million a year. And it's not fair that the residents who don't use the parking lots shoulder almost the full cost of that. So by changing the fee structure in a way that's very fair to all, that is a reasonable cost told to us on 3 separate occasions by the public, and weeks of listening on telephone calls, listening out in the public, emails, it was very obvious that we're at the proper fee schedule that is fair. But we also want to make sure that the public who don't use the parking fields are not unfairly charged for the maintenance, and that those who do use the parking fields share a more fair percentage of the cost of maintenance.
Agree, and I think I'm one of the people who said last month, I wouldn't mind paying more myself. It would only be fair. I'd love if that money specifically could be put towards maintenance of parking.
It is going to be.
Okay,
One of the things that
great.
Deputy Supervisor Carmen, Supervisor Saldino, and myself discussed, along with Commissioner Lenz, that this money will go directly to the maintenance and repair and to try to provide more spaces for our commuting public.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. My only question then, I guess, is this fee structure has been in place for so long and admittedly low. I commuted from Manhasset for a time, much higher fees.
The lowest in all of Long Island.
Yes. I'm just not sure why right now that's appropriate today at this point, because I think you're about to close the parking garage in the summer, which is going to be
Okay, so we're talking about apples and oranges. The parking garage will be...
To me, it's all fruit, because I'm a resident and a commuter.
Okay. Well, that's why we're so glad that you're going to be assisting us on the Commuter Parking Advisory Committee, and we thank you very much. We've held 3 different sessions.
Okay, I was only here for
That's okay.
January.
And that's more than fair. So we've held the 3 sessions. We've given everyone in the public an opportunity to be heard on this. We have had additional listening sessions out at public functions, through emails, and this is a very, very fair fee schedule that the public, as you just did, told us that the numbers are fair. We want to make sure that we have the revenue to increase the number of spots, to maintain the lots. It's approximately $8 million of cost a year, and we have to have a situation that is fair to the residents who use the lots, but is also fair to the taxpayers who don't use the lots, so that those using the lots have a more fair percentage of the cost of the maintenance.
Agreed. Now, though, I'm just wondering about the timing of it, because this fee structure has been in place for quite a long time.
Approximately 18 years without an increase.
Right, and it's been unfair to the non-commuting residents for the whole time. But if we're just discussing Resolution 108, where we're going to be making a whole bunch, and I don't want a money grab from different places, but if we're going to be making all this money from the bonds that we're refunding, wouldn't that be a cushion where we wouldn't have to take this until we have more spaces? Because there are a lot more permits sold than spaces available. And speaking as a single mom with a child in daycare, I have a short window. I can't come there at 6 o'clock and get a spot on the ground in the lot right in front of the Eagle. I rely on the parking garage, which is right now going to be closed shortly. And I only have about a 15-minute window to get a spot between dropping my child off at 7. If I'm not in that parking lot Monday and Tuesday by about 7:15, Wednesday to Friday, you might be able to get in at 7:20, 7:23. 7:27, you're out of luck, and you're paying Dwyer's guy across the street. I don't mind paying Paul, he's a wonderful person, but if I'm already paying for a spot here, I just don't see that taking the money now is such a priority if we're going to be looking at a bond restructuring in about a month. Like, couldn't we wait? And wasn't we going to try to have a public hearing?
The answer to your question is we have had 3
Okay,
of those
I didn't know
hearings.
about them.
That's okay.
When
but
were
we
they?
did advertise them. They were
Okay.
in all the newspapers. Some of the newspapers actually reported the situation factually.
Okay.
But in this case, we've had the hearings, we've heard from the public, they've all told us that a quarter for the entire day is more than reasonable, and in fact, we're asking for less, only 20 cents per day.
Again, it is reasonable, but nobody's
under-
guaranteed a spot. They're
under-
selling thousands of more parking permits than there are spots.
Under the scenario under the scenario you've described, it's important to generate the revenue that will lead us toward creating more spots.
Okay.
And the earlier we get moving on this process, the quicker we can provide more spots to our residents, whether it be restriping, whether it be redesign, all of the many changes that have to take place to suit the needs of all of our residents to provide more spots. And obviously, they come with a cost. Right. So we've held multiple sessions listening to the public. We've gone out to the community. Everyone has told us that a quarter per day is a fine number that no one had a problem with. And we're charging less, 20 cents a day.
Right, but when I don't get a spot,
Right.
So we are working on.
People did say that they want more availability of spots, and that's what would,
and that's what our committee will be working towards.
Yes.
Okay.
That's exactly what the
Okay.
committee is missioned with, and we're happy that you volunteered to help the committee to do the research
My
with
pleasure.
us.
I'm very concerned, as you can tell.
Of course, of course. Everyone has been at all these board meetings where folks have been coming and telling us this. We understand that, and that's why we want to move quickly to enable the public to have more spots, to come up with a number that is fair to the commuters who use the spots and is fair to those who are paying the cost of the maintenance, the taxpayers who don't use the spots. And as we said, we did this in a very public way on multiple occasions, and we came up with changing the number from 4 cents a day to 20 cents per day. And it's still one of the very lowest of any municipality in all of Long Island.
I hear you. Okay, thank you.
You.
I also want to speak on 120. Should I let somebody
Sure.
else have a turn,
No,
or should
no.
I speak? Okay, on 120, That's a continuation of the Hicksville parking facility shoring rental. That's the lolly columns in the garage?
Yes.
Okay. So through June, please don't touch that. So when is this parking garage is going to be closed? When do we think, ballpark?
Probably June, July, and August, half of June, July, and August.
Okay.
We're gonna try to get it done really quick. We're gonna come up with a PLA that will hopefully save, it has to save the town money, otherwise we can't use it. And we're gonna get the best people in there to get it done.
Okay.
In addition to that, thank you, Councilman McEnone. In addition to that, we'll be working with other entities like the Broadway Mall to have other spots available.
That was
And
my
we'll-
next question.
Well, these are all the things that we're going to be dealing with on the committee that you've just volunteered to
Great.
join.
Okay, perfect. Thanks very much.
That's exactly our mission, and we appreciate your help.
Thank you.
Thanks. Our next speaker is Gregory Druhak.
The more formal it is, the less comfortable I am. Joe, it's good to see you. I guess you came out to visit us at the Item A a while ago. Lou, Rebecca, Jim.
Could you just start off with your full name and full address for the record?
My name is Gregory Druhak, and I live at 202 Center Island Road in Oyster Bay. The higher fees for the parking garage, I feel, are not helping me. My background is, I grew up in, my early years were in Plainview, and we eventually moved here to Oyster Bay. I went to Oyster Bay High School, so I'm familiar with the area. I think you're moving in the wrong way. I think that, Long Island, in the period from 1984 to about 2004, as many of you probably know, lost about between 150 to 170,000 engineering and engineering-related jobs. These are jobs that bring money into the area, as opposed to government jobs, which often cost taxpayer money. I feel that with a parking garage, you should start looking to bring in not just a quantity of jobs, but high-level paying jobs, and you should be encouraging them to come in. As it is, as the person before pointed out, it's very difficult for the garages that are, if you want to get a spot, you have to be there basically between 6:30 and 7:30 a.m. at the Hicksville garages. There are very few spots to come in. I guess if I step back, one of the things that annoys me when I hear about the city is when I hear Mayor Bloomberg or Mayor de Blasio talk about the congestion parking. Nobody takes into account the fact that you here in the town are basically solving some of their problems, and they are getting the benefit of a free ride from it. Rather than putting your hand in my pocket for money, I'd rather see you talk to Mayor de Blasio. I'd rather see you talk to Andrew Cuomo and our president, President Trump, for some infrastructure. How much does a parking garage cost? I think it's about $50 million.
We're so glad you brought this up, because you might not have yet heard of the fact that we are currently negotiating with the MTA for parking, additional parking in multiple locations, including in Hicksville. In Hicksville alone, while we haven't solidified a particular number yet, we are in the process of trying to get an additional 1,400 parking spaces.
I think it's net 900.
Net 900, I'm sorry. Net 900 as part of our DRI, the Downtown Revitalization Program. We held one of our meetings last night. It was a public meeting. The public came there. They were very happy with the plans. As a matter of fact, I asked for a show of hands, and it was almost unanimous of which project, and the project that increases parking, but it's a wraparound design. The New York State is giving us $10 million in a revitalization grant that we won in a very competitive process. So with that money, we get to do many things, including through the rules of the DRI process. We are working with some of not only America's, but the world's best planners and architects. And one of the plans they came up with was to have parking garages that were hidden because they were encapsulated with stores and restaurants, retail, some business, and some housing units. It's a fabulous idea in terms of creating a new Fifth Avenue type of look within a very close, 1 block away from the Hicksville Railroad Station. We're emulating some of the successes that were built in downtown Farmingdale, which has been tremendous, downtown Patchogue. But working with the governor, I've had these conversations directly with Governor Cuomo, and he is looking to use our successes in parking and the downtown revitalization as the template for the rest of the state of New York. So
That's encouraging.
It's very encouraging. We're very happy. By the way, Councilman McEnone, Councilwoman Rebecca Alessia are among the people on that committee, as well as the gentleman that we just heard from, Paul Molinari. And we have additionally put together a commuter parking advisory committee co-chaired by Councilman McEnone, with residents, with people from commuters, engineers, experts in construction and design, and we are looking at ways to increase the amount of parking in every one of our parking lots. So we have some great plans that we're working on.
But just by my observation on the Hicksville lot, previously some planners put in a water well, right? They took away parking and put in a water well, which does not seem to me the best use of planning of that thing. You also have the Hicksville Post Office, which is underutilized as their facilities have moved to Bethpage. So you have a whole swath along the railroad tracks that's potentially available right in Hicksville for parking.
And that's
I believe this DRI is going to stimulate growth and investment in Hicksville. We're already seeing that the one building, the old American Dental building, has been bought, and they're coming through new plans to us to have mixed use there. We're hoping that this will be a stimulus to create something
I think
great.
you're right.
And not only that, but the idea is to eventually decrease the reliance on people using cars to commute, so that we might be able to have a trolley or a shuttle system or other.
In some areas that works, obviously. In some areas, you also have light rail vehicle possibilities, like for the Oyster Bay line and other ones. But before I leave, you said 20 to 25 cents a day. The problem is, I'm in an incorporated village. All right. The people who are wealthy in the incorporated villages are not going to commute into the city. They have houses that are summer houses, or they're wealthy enough where they're not going to be in the city. So the people that you're affecting in Bayville and the other villages are the people who are trying to bring in the big money into Nassau County. So for one thing, it's not the $50 per year. We're paying $240 for the 2 years, as opposed to the $100 that you're putting on. I understand that there are.
So you're not comparing oranges to oranges. It's
it's $200. It's $100 for 2 years, or $240 for 2 years.
$100 for 2 years. Yes, we understand that.
Everybody says it's $100 and $120, but it's not. It's $100 and $240 for the same period.
Yes, and we are following the pattern in terms of the percentages that has always been in place in the town of Oyster Bay.
I'm asking for a change because one of the problems I have is I do consulting, but I don't go into the city that often, so I don't use the garages that often. All right, but at $80 or $160 for 2 years, right now, moving it to $120, I'm probably not going to renew my parking permit because I don't use it enough. If you were to enable me to put in a meter for 25 cents a day, I'd have no problem.
Actually, we're looking at that with the committee also. Maybe something on a smartphone with the meter that you'll be able to put in front.
Well,
we're looking at all avenues right now.
That's exactly why we formed the committee.
Right, we are looking at everything. So that has been looked at, and we are going to come back with our study.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker, thank you. Our next speaker is Arthur Edelman. Hi, Arthur, how are you?
Okay, Arthur Edelman, 110 Dubois Avenue, Seacliff. Like to talk about the parking lot, and I'm very happy to see that your committee is considering muni meters. Because based on my analysis, and it's just small time, I've been told that there are 41,000 permit holders. If you got everyone to pay $100 a pop, that would bring in about $4 million. But there's going to be a tremendous fall off on permit seekers.
It'd be 20 million, because if everybody did it. $50 a year.
Okay, I thought it was 100 a year.
No, it's $50 a year.
Oh, so it's only $2 million.
Yes, this is something
Boy,
that had been
that makes-
inaccurately reported by some members of the media, not our credible ones.
Anyway, if, having grown up in the town of North Hempstead and commuted from there forever, I used to lived in the village of Flower Hill, but there wasn't ample parking at Port Washington, so like most other people, I rented for $200 a month at a private lot in Manhasset. I don't understand why the permit fee shouldn't stay at the $10, and I know it's been on the agenda for 3 months, and put in muni meters at $250 a day, which is not exorbitant considering private owners of lots in Hicksville are charging $9 a day. At $250 a day, if all the spots were used all year round, you would bring in over $4 million a year.
And it's $8 million to maintain that. So as we said earlier, the reason, which answers your question, is the fact that we want a fair system that is fair to the commuters, that enables revenue to help us provide more spots, and is fair to the homeowners, the taxpayers, who don't use the lot, who have been paying the lion's share of the maintenance.
Right, but no matter what, you're going to lose permit holders. And you're only going to bring in $2 million, and you say you need $8 million. Where's, I don't understand where.
Well, Arthur, the other good news is, if we find that happens, we can always come back to the table and amend the situation. But when you look at the costs, and we did a very intensive study, we're still the lowest, one of the very lowest of any municipality on Long Island. We're talking about going from 4 cents a day to 20 cents a day, which is a very reasonable number, and we need a system that's fair to everyone and addresses how we provide more spots, because 3 meetings, you were probably here all 3 of them.
Right, but one of them I was outside with Mr. Lentz.
Okay.
So I missed
Well,
most of
then
it.
at that meeting that you were doing work at, the residents, one by one, came up to that very podium that you're standing at and said it's no problem to a quarter a day, and we're lower than that.
I understand that, but it's like you said, the payment, the support of the lots should be borne by the people who utilize them. And if 2/3 of your permit holders are not utilizing the lots, we're not achieving that. To achieve it, I beseech you to look at the muni meter aspect. At St. Francis Hospital, you pay for parking. At the North Shore Hospital, you pay for parking. People understand, parking is at a premium in our communities.
Would you want it to be the entire lot muni meters or certain spots?
No, everything muni meters, pay as you go.
Everyone gets there in the morning and there's, 1 muni meter every couple of cars.
What happens at the courthouse? Well, it's just like the courthouse in Hempstead. You got to be there at 9 o'clock. There are lines and everyone's,
I'm saying everyone's trying to get to the train and it's going to be a little difficult to have.
well, you can buy muni meters, you can work it so you can pick up a ticket in advance. I don't know the
Mr. Edelman,
logistics.
what you're proposing, though, would end up costing the everyday commuter a lot more money
Okay.
than what we're proposing.
Fine,
So we're trying to save people money.
but you're saving them money on my back, all right? I'm saying if you utilize the lot, you should pay for it. She had to pay $9 a day because she couldn't get in. So who are you saving money?
Mr. Edelman, I have a suggestion.
Yes.
In the new town of Oyster Bay, everyone's voice counts, everyone's opinions counts, and their efforts are welcomed. So why don't you work with us on our brand-new Parking Commuter Advisory Committee
No question.
to bring us these ideas, to help work with the professionals on the research, see what it costs to buy those meters, see what it costs to maintain them, so we can bring the best, up-to-date, accurate information to the public, and together we can make the best decisions on how to add spots.
At your service.
Thank you. We greatly appreciate your efforts on our committee.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Our next speaker is Mr. Kevin McKenna. Hi, Mr. McKenna, how are you?
Good evening.
Could you please
Kevin
give us-
McKenna, 3 Edna Drive, Syosset, New York.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Can you give us your legal address, please?
I just gave you my address. Did you not hear me?
Yeah, I didn't. I apologize.
What did you just ask me?
Mr. McKenna, could you please give us your address for the record?
I did.
Okay.
3 Edna Drive, Syosset, New York.
Thank you, sir.
Let me clarify 2 misstatements that you've made. With all due respect, you have a habit of creating, I'm not going to call them lies, but you create illusions. You made a statement that that one of the newspapers that is not here misreported the $100 in the newspaper. Okay, that's inaccurate. The town made the mistake. If you look at your backup, and I suspect that the newspaper that you're talking about goes by the backup, if you look at your backup, it says in the backup $100, and I suspect that's what the reporter went by because that's all we have prior to today's meeting. So for you to take a shot at a newspaper that's not here, I think is very unprofessional. Second off, you also made a statement that's totally inaccurate where you are leading the public to believe that all these people agreed that they would pay 25 cents a day. I was at the meeting where you questioned people, and I was at this podium, and you finally got one individual who you were very, very happy to agree because he ran for town council. And Bob Fryer was the only person who stood at this podium and agreed that he would pay 25 cents a day if, you didn't say this before, if there were parking spaces available to park. Everybody would be willing to pay that if there were parking spaces. So the public did not agree that they're willing to pay 25 cents a day for parking. I did a poll, you know, I don't know, I don't see the public here.
Please address the board.
I am addressing the board. I don't see the public here that you're talking about. And the fact that you delay these meetings on purpose with your awards, which are very, very nice, and the people who get them deserve them, but to delay a meeting to start until 8 o'clock is one of the reasons that a lot of the people that I communicate with don't come to meetings because it just takes too long for the meeting to start, and by the time you get to public session, people have to put their kids to bed. So the public would be here if there really was an announcement about this. Thanks to Councilman Macagnon, this was not voted on at the last meeting where you wanted to slam dunk it, and because he persisted, we're here today. And he called for a public hearing. So a little while ago, you're telling the people watching on camera about how you had all these hearings. What hearings? There were no hearings.
Mr. McKenna,
There was no hearing.
we're here in this room.
There should be a hearing. This particular matter should be separated from all the other resolutions because I want to talk about a few resolutions, but because this one is so complex, unfortunately, I'm going to use up most of my time on it. But I want to be clear to the newspapers and TV that there were no public hearings, and you're creating an illusion that you
McKenna.
had public hearings, and you didn't have public hearings.
Mr. McKenna, you were here during
And
most of the...
my closing on this is that I
McKenna,
sent
you
you
were here
all
in
on
the
the
room.
board. I sent you all on the
Speakers.
board. You could, when I finish, you could say whatever you'd like.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. McKenna.
I have a Facebook page. I had 8,000 people that viewed a poll that I did, and this is not just people that are on my page. This was
Give us the
marketed.
name of the Facebook page so we
I
can have an
paid for this
opportunity to take a
on
look at it.
myself. I marketed it to all the residents in the town of Oyster Bay. 8,000 people viewed the poll,
Okay.
and I worded it where it's only geared towards commuters. I don't want people who
Just
are
give us
not
the name of
commuters.
that. I'd very much like to take a look
Let me
at
just
that,
finish.
please.
I didn't word it to get somebody to just pick a yes or a no. And I specifically said, do you agree if the parking fees should be increased in the town of Oyster Bay in light of the parking situation? Does anybody on this board have to get up in the morning at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning to make the train station by 7 o'clock? Does anybody?
Not any longer, I don't. I did for a number of years.
How would you, Mr. Saladino, like to get up at 5:30 in the morning Look at it this way. Look at it from the public's perspective.
I have gotten up much earlier than that for work, sir.
Okay.
Could you just
get
tell
up,
us the name of that
you get
website
up
so
and
we
you go
could
to the
read your
parking. It's
poll?
Town of Oyster Bay News.
Town of Oyster Bay
It's the name of the
News?
Facebook page, which
So
you're very well aware of.
I'm sorry.
Town of Oyster Bay News.
So you're affiliated with a news agency?
Mr. Saladino, if you'd like to speak about this offline, I'd be happy to talk to you. Okay? I only have a certain amount of time. I'm not affiliated with any news agency. I'm a citizen, and I'm speaking for myself.
But that site reflects...
If you got up at that time every day, and you had to drive as to what you talked about, no, but you just talked a little while ago about the time it would take to go put money in a municipal meter. How would you like to drive around for 20 minutes and not be able to find a spot? I would rather spend 5 minutes having to get change for a meter than drive around for 20 minutes and not be able to find a spot. And I have posts on my Facebook page from 290 residents, random residents in the town. 84% of them said that there should not be any increase until you fix the parking situation.
What did the other 7,000 say?
It's like going into, you go to a restaurant.
Your question, sir.
He doesn't answer my email, so I don't want to speak to him.
Okay.
Okay, how would you like to, you go into restaurants, you eat in restaurants often, right? How would you like to go to your favorite restaurant and they tell you, well, we increased the bill 30%, but we don't have a seat for you anymore? Okay? You're doing this backwards. This idea with the meter is a great idea. It should be looked at, decided on before you do anything with these permit fees. And I want to point out that you did a budget. The town of Oyster Bay did a budget at the end of last year, a balanced budget. You just had Mr. D'Arienzo, who in my opinion should be the controller, because we hired a controller that no one has ever seen or heard from. Normally in a company, you said that we should run this like a corporation when you were considering the interim position. You hire people, and you don't even introduce them to the public, which is beyond me.
Mr. McKenna.
He should be the controller.
Excuse me, Mr. McKenna. One thing I have to do, I understand you may be a news agency one day,
I'm not a
maybe
news
not,
agency.
and you're going to, you have repeatedly chastised me and this board.
Because you lie to the public.
But, sir, I cannot allow you...
You create illusions of grandeur, and they're not the truth. You did not have public hearings
Sir, I can't allow...
on this matter, and everybody did not agree to pay 25 cents a day. And I have a poll, which if you really wanted to get the public's input, you have a Facebook page, you have a public relations department here that has a dozen salaries. You just added one for 180,000. You can't do your, why don't you do your own poll to the public?
Sir,
why don't you get the information off of a poll rather than spend 45 minutes in the last meeting talking about, well, should it be 15 cents? Why don't you spend 45 minutes talking about ideas from the public that was here, asking us of how we think there could be increased parking spaces? We have a lot of great ideas. I've talked to one that there's a very simple solution to fix the whole problem. Councilman McAgnone knows what it is, and I'm sure he'll bring it up. And who knows, maybe it'll come to pass, but that's enough. You didn't have hearings on this, and all the public does not agree to pay 25 cents.
Thank you,
Please
Mr. McKenna. We
think
really
about it. I asked the
appreciate
board
your
to think about
testimony.
getting up every day and spending 20 minutes missing your train, and then thinking that you just had to pay an increase in the permit that you can't even use. Think about that as a person. Really, I beg of you to do that for the residents. I used to do it. And I think the meters are a great idea, but once again, you're doing it backwards.
McKenna, in the early 80s, I used to live in South Farmingdale, and I took the train from Massapequa. And back then, the meters were 50 cents a day, and I had no problem. But then again, I was working construction. I was catching a 517 train. But back then, it was 50 cents a day, and it was, no problem paying that back then.
If there's parking spaces, by all means.
40 years ago.
Thanks. But
well, the point is that expenses have gone up over the past 40 years.
That's what we're working on this committee. Well, hopefully...
But you do that first. You do the committee in that first meeting you had 2 months ago is when you start talking about that. You don't start talking about it after you increase the... It's backwards. It's totally backwards. Well, I guess I'm out of time. I'm going to just pick the most important one here. You guys are going to vote tonight on increasing salaries for God knows who, because we don't get to see that. Actually, I'm going to make a request on the record. I think, as per the open meetings law, the public deserves to hear the names of the additional people who are getting salaries. Can we get that?
That's all available.
Can we tell the public so that they could hear it, all those people watching on TV?
Yes, we have all that information available, and as per law, we release that information exactly the way the law requires us to.
So when will you release the names of the people who are going to get?
You can meet with Vicky after this meeting this
You
evening.
don't want the public to know. That's why you want me to meet with the
Mr.
public
McKenna.
after the meeting. My point is that, let me ask you this question. Think about this. It's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that when, and a lot of these people very well could deserve raises. I'm not disputing that. If you deserve a raise, you should get a raise. When's the last time a performance review was done for any of the people that have gotten raises? Because it's my understanding, and I have inside information.
They go on weekly.
That the town does. Has
Mr.
anybody
McKenna,
on the board?
May I answer your question,
Has anybody
sir?
on the board seen the performance reviews of those people who got raises before and these people who are going to get raises now? If you have,
Mr.
great.
McKenna,
If you
may I
haven't, I
answer
ask
your
the
question?
board, people who really are looking at this the right way, if you haven't seen performance reviews, then how can you decide to give somebody a raise?
Mr. McKenna, I have not seen them, but I'm going to ask for them from now on. I think it's a great idea, along with the idea of getting some kind of electronic sign-in for all our employees. You know, every business has it, and every
Thank you.
business has performance reviews.
Thank you. I appreciate your response to that. I've been emailing the board about the fact that in my FOIL request, I still see manual timesheets in the town of Oyster Bay. We're in the year 2018. I'm sure there's a lot of reasons why there's still manual timesheets, but I think it's time that the town get up to speed, and I thank you for your effort, and I know that you're fighting City Hall.
Thank you, Mr. McKenna.
lastly-
We thank
Actually,
you
I'm trying
for...
to work with City Hall.
Work with City Hall.
I'm working with
Lastly,
Mr.
is it
McKenna, we
normal-
thank you for your time
Normal-
and your
Is
testimony.
it normal that
You're
employees who
out
have
of
not
time
been
now.
authorized to get raises,
Mr.
they
McKenna,
already know the raises that they're getting? I got emails from an employee, confidential, that the vote you're going to take tonight is people who are upset they're not getting raises.
Mr.
People who are
McKenna.
going to get a vote tonight already know they're getting the raises. And
Mr.
I don't think
McKenna.
that's appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. I'd like to point out that while Mr. McKenna has presented himself as a journalist and a news agency, Oyster Bay News, in fact, the level of opinion in his website has proven to us that it's not following any of the rules of journalism. Thank you, Mr. McKenna. We appreciate you here, and we appreciate you at each and every meeting. Thank you so much. Oh, you mean the way our daily paper has just done? Well, we thank you for your insight again, and we appreciate your efforts to come to our meetings.
I know I help you very much. I give you good ideas.
Are there any other speakers here who would like to address us on the resolutions of this evening?
Supervisor, I had a question on the resolution.
Yes, please ask.
No, but if there's a resident first, that's of course.
Would you like to come up? Thanks so much. How are you tonight, sir? Good. Thanks. Would you kindly start off with your full name and full address for the record?
Danny O'Connor, 9 Sylvia Street, Glen Head, New York. As you know, I come to a lot of these meetings. I would just like to say a couple of quick things. One is for the parking. I'm not necessarily a huge commuter myself, but I think there's been a large amount of time spent on a minimal amount of money, where I don't like to see raises in anything. Where I will fault the town is that they did not increase in 18 years. And because of that, a newspaper that I read today speaks about a 400% increase. The problem is we need to bring and double that down to say what is that 400% increase. And in the scope of business today, that quarter per day is it's a joke that we're spending so much time on this, to be honest with you. And as a resident and someone who hates getting increases in bills, I'd almost, honestly, sitting here tonight, give you $40,000 out of my own pocket to make this thing go away, because it's just ludicrous, to be honest with you. And I feel for communities, I feel for everybody, but really the more important topics, and I don't want to switch gears, I'm approving 25 cents. I would do it all day long. I'd approve $1, and I think everyone would
less than
pay
25 cents. 20 cents is okay with you?
I don't think it's a problem. What the problem is coming to this meeting, and no disrespect to anybody, but to sit through the number of meetings I've sat through and to hear and to see the newspapers, it's definitely been publicized. And honestly, I thought this room was going to be filled tonight with people. And if this was really such a huge topic, I know it would have been filled.
I'll be quite honest with you, I thought that we'd get mountains of emails against it. They've been minimal.
Yeah, but,
I received 3 emails.
What I'd like to, and
we're all asking for more spaces, and we've heard that loud and clear.
I think that's definitely needed, but I think it's two different subjects. I think the price increase is one. Again, I fault the town, the previous board for 18 years for never increasing it, because when you don't increase it in increments, then it seems like the world falls apart when you finally do increase it. And 18 years is a hell of a long time.
So, Connie, you
not to have
heard
an increase.
that's one of the factors here, that the town has not increased the rate for 18 years. But just to bring some clarity to this situation and truthfulness, because we recognize you as someone who's very, very honest, you have been sitting in a number of the past few meetings here in the town board, correct?
Correct.
And you have heard some people come up and speak about the increase, correct?
Correct.
Would you classify this as many of those people came up here and told us that a quarter a day is not a problem for them?
I didn't hear anyone really complain about it, no.
Didn't hear the complaints?
I do not recall anyone complaining about the increase.
Might have been mischaracterized earlier.
The only thing I hear is the number of spots, which is agreeable, and I think at last meeting I had even come up and said maybe something could be done with Sears. I don't live in Hicksville. I just, out of the box thinking, mentioned something. Two different subjects.
Well, that's exactly what we're doing.
The spots is two different subjects.
That's exactly what we're doing in Hicksville. We are going to be adding some net 900 spots in Hicksville Railroad Station alone. We have a template that we're looking to repeat in other railroad stations. We've created a committee where Councilman Tony Mackinone is the co-chair with residents, some of them here this evening, with experts in the field, engineers. Oh, you're very kind. But our focus is to do everything possible to meet the demands and the needs of the public and the commuters, to provide more spots, but also to create fairness. When a particular newspaper reported a 400% increase, they never mentioned that we were talking about going from 4 cents a day to 20 cents a day. Had they mentioned that,
most people don't, unfortunately, but I read between the lines.
Well, thank goodness for people like you.
But more importantly, I think people need to understand what the school districts are doing. And if you want to talk about price increases and going in your pocket, and I'm glad the cameras are here, I think more people should look at what the school districts are doing on the increases, because a $120 increase on a parking thing for 2 years is a joke compared to what's going on with the school districts and how they increase from, in 15 years from 49 million to 105 million in budgets. So I think those are the bigger problems. But thank you. I had a voice.
Thank you very much. And by the way, Mr. O'Connor, on that subject that you ended off on, you'll be very happy to know that this administration, in this very room last October, passed our 2018 budget, and that included a $1.3 million tax cut for the town of Oyster Bay residents, because we have heard the call, we know exactly what you're asking for, and we're delivering for you and all our residents. Thank you, sir. One more speaker?
2 more speakers.
Okay. Yes, we haven't forgotten. Could you please start by giving us your full name and address for the record?
Yes, my name is Kathleen Gregori. I live at 862 Hilltop Road in Oyster Bay. I've been commuting for 42 years. When I first started commuting, I used to go to Syosset. If you got there by 7:30, you could get a parking spot. That no longer is the case. If you don't get there by 7 o'clock, you don't get a spot. So I gave up on Syosset, and now I go to Hicksville. Hicksville also is not a lot of fun. But if you don't get there between 7:15 and 7:30, you don't get a spot. I don't mind paying more. I pay $80 because I'm in the village of Millneck. But when you can't get a spot, then it's money wasted. So I would like to volunteer for your committee,
Please.
because I would be very happy to work on solutions for
Thank you.
myself and other communities.
Thank you.
Can
We
you
appreciate
give
that.
your name to Marta, raise your hand, please, and number, so we get a hold of you?
Thank you
very
so much. If there are no other members of the general public that would like to speak, Councilwoman Rebecca Alessia has a question on our resolutions.
Thank you, Supervisor. I wanted to, if I could call up the Planning Commissioner on Resolution 97.
Certainly. Commissioner, would you please join us up front?
So I know I had the opportunity to speak to the Commissioner, and I've spoken to you, Supervisor, and a little bit with Councilman Macagnon, but just for my other colleagues on the board. We recently had another issue before the board where a permit was renewed several years in a row, and the circumstances surrounding, or the neighborhood surrounding that application had changed, and the permit was granted anyway because of the extensions. And so here we have an application that I think dates back to 2013,
Correct.
asking for another extension. And so I wanted to just get a little bit of an explanation from you on why it's appropriate to grant this. And I also want to ask if we can work on, I don't think we should be granting, we should have a finite period of time under which we can grant extensions,
I
no
agree
more than
with
3 years
Councilman.
or...
It should be every 3 years and maybe a traffic study done, because this is Long Island, it's constantly changing.
Right, well, our code indicates that within 1 year of granting, whether it's a special use permit or a change of zone application, you need to obtain your certificate of occupancy. But for a developer who comes before this board, when they get their approving resolution, they then need to go to all the other municipalities that govern land use regulations, and that includes the Nassau County Planning Commission, Nassau County Health Department, the local sewer department, local water department, the PSE&G, National Grid. All these different agencies at that point will review their building plans.
And
A
in this
developer
case,
is
other
not
counties
going to...
and other towns.
Well, in this specific case, yes, because the property straddles Suffolk County. The majority of the property is located in Suffolk County. Only a little less than 2 acres is in the town of Oyster Bay. We have 14 units being built in the town of Oyster Bay section, along with 3 single-family homes along Plainview Road, a county road, and then the southern part of Jericho Turnpike, and a clubhouse. The total project is 80 units total, with 66 being located in Suffolk. So a developer is not going to spend the money in creating full construction drawings for all the different agencies until they get the zoning in place. At that point, they then release their architects and their engineers to do full engineer drawings. Every time they go to a different governing agency, they receive comments from that agency. They have to revise the plans. They have to then go through the process to submit those plans to every single approving agency, because you can't have one agency signing off on a plan that might have been revised in 2015, and then new comments come in 2016 and 17. So this was the perfect storm. The developer obviously knew what he was getting into. However, it's taking several years, 4 years, to get to this point. Earlier this year, the owner of the property came in and met with myself and Deputy Commissioner Zeich. She explained to us that she was at the final step, which was the offering plan, because these are condominiums, part of an HOA and so forth. They would be submitting this spring to the Attorney General's office in Albany, which is a whole nother step that typical subdivisions don't go through. And that is the final step. And she came to meet with us to get all our building permit applications and to sit with us to see what she needs to do in order to file the building permit applications. She indicated that she would be filing the applications in May, because she anticipates getting this approved by the Attorney General this spring. I don't see anyone here from, her or her attorney,
And I understand that puts them at a little bit of a disadvantage that they're not here.
Yes, and I understand there are new projects being proposed over the border in Suffolk County, or perhaps in the town of Oyster Bay. We have, Woodbury Country Club, there's a project going on. However, they were approved, they've been going through the process. It's been a lengthy process for them. Yes, we should definitely look differently at the new applications that are going to be coming before this board in the next few years. But again, it is up to you to decide whether you want to do this extension. However, like I indicated, I've already spoken with Tom Sabelico in our town attorney's office. We do need to look at the amount of time we give projects of this nature to get a certificate of occupancy. It's just completely impossible to do it within 1 year. So that's why we do come up here every year. I was here when I, first became the commissioner last year, speaking on the same subject.
That's understood, but we do really have to come up with some kind of stopgap, because it can't go on forever.
And it creates sort of a first-in-time situation where particularly the project that, and again, it's, all like a rumor mill thing, but I understand there's a substantial project going on literally across the street from where this is. So if that project made the application in 2014, but theirs moved faster because it was in just one township, it's just the residents lose out, and that's my concern.
Commissioner, given the complexity of this project, do you think that this has been an unreasonable amount of time that's elapsed?
No.
No, I know she doesn't.
No, I mean, based upon all the different agencies, Nassau County Department of Public Works, New York State DOT, I mean, regular site plan applications, sometimes it could take a year for them to obtain just their 239F approval from Nassau County DPW, because within DPW, it has to go through the health department, drainage, engineering, all within Nassau County.
And if the extension were not to be granted, what would happen?
Would it open us to a potential lawsuit?
Oh, I would definitely probably, I would have to defer to the town attorney's office, but yes.
And
I mean, they're so vested into this.
Reflect that the town attorney is nodding his head rather vigorously.
We definitely should have no hearings on any property till we come up with a stopgap.
I'm sorry, what?
We should definitely not have any more hearings on any properties until we come up with a time.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me, Mr. Town Attorney. So if we opt not to extend a site permit on any application, we're going to be sued? That's like blackmail.
I think he said I asked the question as it relates to this one.
That is correct.
So if we don't have any more hearings on land use until we come up with a time that, okay, you have 3 years, 4 years, or even go by the square footage of the property. If you over square foot, because that store's in Plainview, it's still hurts me.
I think that you're taking a very complex problem and you're going to apply a rule to much less complex problems. We're trying to be more business friendly.
Well, why don't we do this?
No, actually, I'm trying to be more resident friendly to make sure our residents could commute to the train station, hopefully get a spot and go to work every day or go enjoy their weekends. That's what I'm looking at. More traffic, more projects being built around. I personally will not go shopping in that shopping center because the parking's so terrible there now.
So why don't we do this? The board members have brought up some very good points, and I'm going to direct the commissioner to please work on some potential solutions for this problem, because the points that were brought up are very relevant, and we greatly appreciate that. We want to make sure that as situations change and time goes on, that applicants are providing our residents with and the board, obviously, with up-to-date information so we can make the best decisions. But at the same time, we realize that Long Island has a very special workforce. And that workforce depends on our doing our job appropriately, timely, and with expedience. So we don't want to rush things and make mistakes, but we want to make sure that we can get our workforce to work. And when you hear about the time the state takes, and you mentioned Nassau County dragging on and on and on, we don't want to be the ones that are the slowest, but we want to do it right. So we're going to ask you to please come up with some solutions and send a memo to all the members of the board so we can go over the complexities, we can go over your solutions, and we can adapt our policies so it meets everyone's needs, the needs of the residents, protecting the environment, recognizing that factors change, but we don't want to slow things down so slowly that our workforce is out of work. So if you would kindly come up with the proper and appropriate solutions, and because Councilwoman Alessia came up with this question, I'll ask you to also confer with her, Councilman McEnone, who has tremendous experience in construction, and any other board member or in the town attorney's office, so that we can come up with some solutions that make sense and are appropriate, and then we, the board, will decide on which of those solutions we will accept to change our codes to do it right.
Thank you, Supervisor, and I'm sorry, Michelle, I just wanted to say that I am prepared to vote on this tonight, and I didn't mean to scapegoat this particular application. It's just because of the other one, I'm reticent, yes, exactly. So I don't want to hold this particular project up and punish them for somebody else's issues, but I wanted to bring it up. Thank you.
I would say perhaps at the same time, our town attorney can enlighten the board at what point in Article 70 will be brought to make sure that everyone's rights are preserved in a proceeding like this. Maybe not now, while we're going through it further, so everyone understands what the ramifications could be with regard to that.
But just going back to my line of questioning, if we don't grant the extension, do they have to start all over again?
Yes, I mean, at this point, yeah.
That doesn't sound like it would be the most productive thing to do.
Commissioner, my question for clarification before we do vote is, has the petitioner been responsive, and is it primarily governmental delays?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, there's a file this thick that there's constant revisions and reviews, and you have to go to the Planning Commission for preliminary subdivision approval, and then final subdivision approval, and on a regular subdivision, that could take 1.5 to 2 years just in Nassau County. Now you have to times it by 2 because he's got to go back and forth to Suffolk. I mean, there is a complete file on this.
I get it.
They've been working on it.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the commissioner?
I have a question on a different resolution.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Councilwoman Johnson.
Just with regard to 111, when and if it's passed, I know that the town clerk's office is going to be overwhelmed and inundated trying to get all the parking permits ready, so I just want to be assured by your office that they will be provided with the appropriate staff if they need it.
Absolutely. That's a very good point. We have been utilizing our staff to greatly increase efficiencies of the town of Oyster Bay. For instance, at tax time, we've been lending employees from different departments to go over to the Receiver of Taxes office when they have the busiest time and so forth. Excellent point. And you and the public can be assured that we will provide to the town clerk's office, who does a wonderful job on this, and we want to thank you, the appropriate staff to get the job done. Is there anyone else in the public who would like to be heard on any of these resolutions? Hi. Okay, I believe you spoke already? I did. Okay. Generally, it's, if the rules are that each person gets here up once, has a set amount of time, but you can contact us by telephone, you can contact us by email, you can contact us by letter. If we go through this process, everyone will come up for a second, a third, a fourth time. That's the reason the rules have been. We did hear you. We also heard the public on at least 3 occasions here in this room, which was confirmed by Mr. O'Connor. We have received correspondence. We've received emails that we've all seen. We've spoken to the public at so many functions. I understand.
Did you read the letters you got?
Thank you. But just so you understand, there are 2 different missions we're talking about. The committee's job is to provide more spaces.
Can we provide more spaces before raising the price? Because you have people...
It's apples and oranges. The reason we're doing this, we're proposing this to provide fairness for the commuters, but fairness to the property owners, the taxpayers, who have been paying the lion's share of the maintenance. Okay, so you have the maintenance, and you also have the issue, the maintenance costs $8 million, and then you have the costs associated with restriping. In the Massapequa lot, we restriped, created 50 more spots.
I'm understanding what you're saying, but what I'm saying is, right now, we don't have the spots. So is it imperative that, again, like I said last month, is it imperative that it gets off the to-do list tonight? I understand you want to get things off the to-do list, but if we're working on
no.
50 more spots, would another month?
Lisa, it's not that one is directly connected to the other. We're trying to bring fairness to our residents, and we're trying to, the cost has not gone up from 4 cents a day for 18 years.
So what's another month or so? I mean, that's my question, as a commuter and a resident.
I do appreciate that, but you haven't been here in the many meetings.
Why do you need the money? To make up for that tax.
Okay, is there anyone else who has not gone yet who would like to address the board?
Yeah.
Please come up.
Hi, guys. John Rebecki, Brookwood Street in Glenhead. Thanks for listening to me here. I think it's about time that we raise the parking fees across the town of Oyster Bay. I mean, $20 kind of seemed like a joke. So thank you guys for voting on this. I know that you're not going to be able to get the capacity immediately, but I'm sure that you guys will be working diligently and hard to get up to speed for all these commuters. I think part and parcel with this should probably be a study about maybe making our towns a little bit more walkable so that we're not driving everywhere. That's about it for me. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Well, if there are no other speakers, is there any correspondence?
No correspondence.
Okay.
You want me to call for the vote?
Yes, the town clerk will now call for the vote.
Just to recap, we're voting on Resolution P5-18 through 132. Motion was made by Councilman Muscarella, seconded by Councilman McEnone. On the vote, Supervisor Saladino?
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella?
Aye.
Councilman McEnone?
Okay,
Go slow.
I will.
Okay.
On the personnel resolution, I had great conversations with the deputy supervisor. We went through the list, we did everything. I'm happy to say that the deputy supervisor and I agree on the fact that it's a great honor to work for the town of Oyster Bay. And we expect our workers to give us a good day's pay for a good day's salary. So with that being said, I'm happy that we're gonna have some kind of recording system be introduced, so we'll know when people come in and come out. And I like the idea of reviews. The town board's reviewed every 4 years, the supervisor every 2 years, the clerk every 2 years. We rely on our department heads to give us the reviews of the workers. But I'd like to see a more formal review, and honestly, we should be doing the reviews of our department heads. So I'm gonna vote aye on Resolution P518. Resolution 90. Maureen, I don't see you in the room, but, oh, there you are. Great idea, I'd like to see more of the hamlets. Resolution 121, it behooves me that we're buying grocery bags. We have so many supermarkets in the town. Today, I just saw IKEA gave Suffolk County 5,000 bags. Why are we not having our departments look to get these bags donated? There's 5 Stop and Shop, 6 if you count the one in the Glen Cove, Locust Valley border. There's numerous Best Yets, or Best Market, whatever they're called now. There's so many stores, I can't believe we're spending money on shopping bags. Okay, and 125 and 126.
Hold on, are you voting yes or
I
no?
vote no on that.
Okay.
And 125, 126, I vote no, because we had the hearing in the fall about retirement incentive. I asked the town attorney at the time, this will be the last time we hear this for the year. And I was told an affirmative yes. And now it's coming back. So I'm gonna vote no on that, I vote aye on all the rest. Good luck, Jim.
Thank you, I got it. Okay. Councilwoman Alessia?
I'm an aye as to to all, just noting my exception, which I know you don't have to note, Jim, but reiterating my exception to the practice of extending building permits for more than 3 years.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Johnson.
I vote no on P518 on the rest.
Councilman Brodo?
I abstain on 97, and I abstain on P518. I vote aye on the rest.
Councilman Hand?
I'll make it easy for you, Jim. Aye.
Thank you, sir. Okay, here we go. Resolution P518 passes with 5 ayes, 1 nay, and 1 abstention. TF 419 through 96 passes with 7 ayes. 97, 6 ayes, 1 abstention. 98 through 120 passes with 7 ayes. 121 passes with 6 ayes and 1 no. 122 through 124, 7 ayes. 125 and 126 passes with 6 ayes and 1 no. 127 through 132 passes with 7 ayes. Yeah, 25 and 26. Yes, no's. 6 and 6. Calendar is complete.
Thank you. Thank you to the town clerk. Okay, may I have a motion, please?
Supervisor, I make a motion that this meeting be closed. Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We are going to take a very quick recess and then come out for the public comment portion of the meeting. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Supervisor.
You're not going to stay.
Listen, they gotta make more spots. I agree with you. And the only thing is how they charge. And that can be worked on down the road. Put an increase, shame on you for never putting an increase in 18 years. Because I had the same argument. They raised the tuition for 5 years. Trying to do the right thing. In their hearts, I know, don't raise it and stuff, but what they did. You still gotta maintain and the cost of maintaining what you have already is up.
I want to go home and take my pain medicine. I know you feel it.
I had the hand. But if they budget, they're working their budget.
It's great, I'll tell you that.
What's not anytime you make a change in business, 10%.
You made us all very good.
Then it comes back.
How many permits is it? You're justifying it.
That's a nice color your way. Oh, yeah, I think you are.
When you get new people.
Look healthy.
But I don't know.
I understand.
But, like,
A little bit of everything.
I could get a
That's all right, you deserve it.
sticker from Washington. Right? So I was like, Manhasset, well, that's when I lived in Roslyn Harbor. I drove to Manhasset. I paid $200 a month. That's what I'm saying, $250.
Even the people in Manhasset bought the 50 for 2 years.
I went online.
Oh, no, 120.
Now,
Last meeting, they actually got a lot of what to charge, and they said, okay, we're gonna hold off on the next meeting, which is tonight. They all voted, so. Get it done.
$50 a year.
Yeah, that's what it's, what is it now?
No, that's what's going
That's
to.
what's going,
the
that's
permits
it,
are
just get it
$100.
done already, please. I swear to God, I'll send you guys a check for the difference.
One big mistake.
Sometimes you just need reality sometimes. Just get it done already, you know? I understand, nobody wants a bill, but I'm not lying. Check your school tax bills, and those are the real bills.
What?
Those are the real bills. Yeah. We got problems with the water company. Those are real bills. When she gets a bill for $1,000 a month on water, that's what she gets. A month. Agatha. That's why she's the leader in fighting the water company in our area. Well, because he's got American Water. Yeah, yeah. We're fighting them to try to get them out, and hook up to Jericho Water, because we're already hooked up to Jericho's pipes technically. Technically, it's for this. Not even close. Honestly.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue with our public comment portion of the board meeting. And our first person to provide public comment is Agatha Nadell. Is Agatha Nadell in the room or outside? She went to the ladies' room? Okay, we'll call her back up then. She won't miss her turn. Mr. Jonathan Bloom. Mr. Jonathan Bloom. Sure, take your time. Pardon? Oh, yes. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Edelman? Come on up while we're giving Ms. Nadell a little bit of time.
Just so you know.
How are you, sir?
Okay, welcome back. Oh, I'm the one who's back. Arthur Adel, we don't have to do that for the record anymore, right?
No.
No. All right.
Always appreciated when people want to identify themselves.
Okay. I'm Arthur Edelman, right?
Accurately.
And I'm from Seacliff, New York. And I'm here because I feel a bit frustrated with government in the town trying to get something done. Unfortunately, we don't live in a type of governmental environment where resolutions can come from the floor. We need to have them sponsored by our legislatures. We have 7 able people. I wrote everybody a request to introduce a resolution regarding payment of fire hydrant fees, rentals charged by New York American Water to the Glen Head, Glenwood Landing Fire District and the Seacliff Fire Department. The money for this charge, or if the town agreed to pay the rental fee, just like it pays many other rental fees for parking, stadium use, I don't know what. I just know there are a lot of rental fees that are approved. The money for this is coming from the general tax fund that New York American Water remits to the town and the county. I came to the town because of my relationship with all of you. I feel much closer to you than I do with the current administration in Mineola. And I'm hoping if you act first, we can get them to take their piece of the action too. And if the board would at least bring up the resolution to pay a partial part of the rental fees, we could then have leverage and go to the county and say, let's go. Town of Oyster Bay is paying a piece based on what they get from New York American Water, and why can't the county? I need this resolution to be introduced so we can have public discussion about it, which is the key to anything happening. If we find that it can't be passed because of some quirks in the law, so be it. At least we'll have it out in the public, and I think that's what everybody wants. I know the supervisor is looking to help us save on the fees that we're paying American Water, and this is a big one, $750 per fire hydrant. And they claim $540 of that fee is for component property taxes. And that's it. And I'm going to ask you again for the next meeting to possibly introduce a resolution to do what I ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Edelman. It's important for you to know and for the public to know that we've set up a meeting with the president of the Glen Head Civic Association in an effort to assist on this issue and the many issues concerning the cost of water resources in your area. We're also working on encouraging New York State to create legislation that will solve the bigger problem that, quite frankly, then solves all of these issues. And clearly, the astronomical prices faced by residents who receive American Water is way over the top. We appreciate what you've been continuing to do to work with us, and I thank you for the compliments stating that I'm in your corner, but I want to stress that all of our officials in the town of Oyster Bay are with our residents, not with American Water. I, too, where I live, am served by American Water and pay their rates. It's very important to rectify this entire situation, and that's exactly what you suggest is exactly what we'll be discussing at this upcoming meeting with Glen Head Civic Association.
But it sounds like a really good idea.
Yes, we're just discussing it. We think it's an excellent idea.
Yes.
Well, I know, but the Glen Head Civic Association is not the
No, your idea.
No,
We like your
we like your idea.
Yeah.
But
Councilman
we need
Johnson and
to
I-
talk to our town attorney further.
Bring it to light a
At
little more.
Civics tomorrow night, or Thursday night. So I'll
Well, please let them know that we will be bringing this idea to, discussing it with our town attorney and our legal department, and working our way through this, because we embrace anything that will bring relief to our residents.
Just like to give your, the attention to that, the Glen Head Civic Association is not going to be the lead agency and not the lead
Okay.
community group in the fight.
Okay.
Against murder.
Well, as always, we'll be listening to everyone and then taking the appropriate action. But at the end of the day, there is no solution better than our state representatives taking the big move, and we've discussed this, and we've talked about it at the public meetings. We've talked about this at the rally that we attended. We really need to encourage our state representatives to take the big move that would shift the provider to your community and all of the communities currently served by New York American Water. Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Gregory Siragusa. Hi, Greg. How are you today?
Gregory Saragusa, 94 Briarwood Lane, Plainview. Wanted to come back and talk about my favorite subject, gas-powered leaf blowers.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm here because...
It's so quiet in the mornings on Saturday.
Yeah.
My wife and I went out the other Saturday, and because in a couple of months, they're gonna be back again.
Yes.
And I thought of you right away.
Yes. You know, I used to love the coming of spring. I don't anymore because all it means is noise on top of noise. And other municipalities, you know, in our area and around the country, they're taking action. And if you check, you know, if you go on and do an internet search, you'll see that in Westchester, New Jersey, New England, and across the country, especially out in California, that they're doing, you know, at the very least, they're doing a seasonal ban. Now, I had talked about that before. It looks like town of North Hempstead is going to do something like that. The word I got was that they're going to give them a year to switch to the electric leaf blowers. Now, the electric leaf blowers are a very viable alternative. They're not expensive, and they'll give them a year. If anybody wants, I crunched the numbers, and it's not going to raise anybody's expense of having their lawn done. If anybody wants to see those numbers, I'll send them in. So I'm asking, can we start doing something along the lines of what everybody else, not everybody, but a lot of municipalities are doing, which was a seasonal ban from roughly the end of May till the end of September. This is, you know, every weekend, I can't sit in my backyard. It gets, you know, come out, it's quiet, the trucks pull up, and they go for however long. Then you go back in the house, come back out, it's the same thing. Now, going forward, you know, I know we won't have anything this year, but what we do have in place is the Sunday ban on commercial landscaping, which is, in my area, is constantly violated. You know, I have a stack of things I've sent into code compliance to send out to the companies that violate the code. Is there anything we can do? Because code compliance doesn't work on the weekends.
Yes, we have been working to reorganize our workforce to have more people. It requires a significant amount of training. We can bring the commissioner up to talk about that. We have also met with the industry to come up with ways to further this issue. We have people out there, we realize, that are not licensed, and we do not approve of that. Even whether it's weekends or during the week, we get phone calls from residents, and many times by the time the inspector gets there, and it's not like they're lollygagging, they're getting there as quickly as they can, they're gone. Landscapers are gone.
That's the issue, yeah.
That's part of the problem. Residents, I believe, can well, Commissioner, why don't you come up, please? I know you've met with industry leaders in this industry. You've done a lot of research on the different pieces of equipment, electric versus gas-powered, two-stroke versus four-stroke, and so forth. Can you talk to us about ways in which we can bring relief?
Well, some of the things that we've been doing, and we worked last year throughout the summer with Mr. Siragusa, We do have the struggles on the weekends because code enforcement doesn't work. However, to address some of his concerns, he did provide us with the companies who were violating, and
Could we maybe, if we're gonna hire some more code enforcement, give them a split shift that they work, Sunday through Thursday, or someone else works Tuesday through Saturday?
As well
Yes.
as seasonals for the weekends?
Right, so we can get this done.
well, the seasonals, we'd have to check to see whether or not they would be able to issue summonses. So that's where the problems we have with seasonal employees.
Are part-timers allowed to issue them
Part-timers
once they've
would,
been
if they're in the
trained?
proper title, and then doing a split shift. One of the things I would like to explore would be with Commissioner McCaffrey and Public Safety, because they are able to, they are able to write summonses or notices of violations, and, they're working 24 hours on the weekends and so forth. So, but again, even if we are working on the weekends, if a call were to come into Public Safety and they dispatch, whether it's a code enforcement inspector or a public safety inspector, we're only going to have a few on the weekend. By the time they get there, they have to see the violation.
I think we only have to catch one or two.
Right, and
Send shockwaves.
right, and how we handled the repeat offenders over in his neighborhood was, we reached out to those companies, we reached out to the town clerk's office, we had the town clerk's office put them on notice that they are jeopardizing their license, and he would rescind it. So we were able to get achievement that way. Obviously, winter came, we're gearing up for the spring. I understand, you're here and you're concerned that that's going to happen again. But, those are the things that we currently are doing, and then exploring working with public safety.
Commissioner, the board and I would like to request that you meet with Commissioner McCaffrey and to work out some options of how his department may be helpful on this issue. It clearly is a problem for our residents. I'd like to thank you, sir, for your diligence and your working with us and your time and attention. So let's work together to see, we really have to solve this problem. And what the public doesn't realize is there were so many rules, laws, and mandates about our labor and our workforce. We have to follow those laws, but we still can come up with a solution.
And one of the things we could do early on, if in the first few weeks on the Sundays, if they are operating, I will schedule an inspector ahead of time to go by throughout the day to try to catch them. And if we know that they're going to be there, if they've shown up for the first few Sundays, they're probably going to show up again. We'll stagger their work schedule and have them go on a Sunday to try to catch them, give them the summons, and then, then they're in court, and they'll realize we're going to be on top of them.
Please.
Okay.
And we'll be reaching out with public information to help us contact the media and enlist the media's help to get the word out, to put the public on notice, and the assistance of the media would be very much appreciated.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
I just have one other
Certainly.
request. Is it possible, there's a woman, Bonnie Saig, I think she's sending you emails every once in a while. She's the local expert on gas-powered leaf blowers. She's a doctor, she's a physician, but she's a local expert on the health hazards of the gas-powered leaf blowers in addition to the noise.
Yeah, we're not debating any of the information that you brought us, and the first step is to get the personnel out on the streets on the weekends to utilize the media to let the public know that we really mean business on this, and we'd be happy to listen to all members of the public.
Right, but what Bonnie has is a presentation that, hopefully we can move forward and get this seasonal ban one day. But she has all the data on the dangers of these things just as a health hazard, not even the noise, just the health hazard. But the noise, to me, the noise is number one. But I don't think anyone realizes how much pollution these things put out, and they're blowing dust up in the air. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. You're breathing it in. I'm breathing it in. And it's invisible to the naked eye, but it's there. And it's ridiculous that we have to, we live in such close quarters, at least in parts of town of Oyster Bay where I live, Plainview, Massapequa, that whole area. We live right on top of one another. And it's not fair that someone can bring these landscapers in and disrupt, 2 houses up, and my day is disrupted, and plus I'm getting all this debris blowing into my property.
Which would come whether the blowers are powered with gas or electric.
Yes and no. Yeah, the gas-powered ones blow at almost 200 miles an hour, and the electric ones don't disturb the soil as much.
Okay.
And I came here a few months ago with my picture from what a 200-mile-an-hour wind does. We just saw last year in Houston and down south in Florida, what 200 miles an hour wind can do. You don't need that to blow a blade of grass off the driveway. So thank you very much for your time.
You're very welcome, and we're more than happy to examine all the data.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. John Rebecci.
John Rebecki.
Rebecki, I apologize.
It's all right. No worries. The past few town meetings I've been watching on the live stream, thanks for doing that.
You're welcome.
A lot of the talk about like the Hicksville parking garage came up, and the amounts that we're all paying for parking. I wonder if there's any thought about that this town board has about trying to explore transit-oriented development, something that, higher density right around the train stations. Go ahead.
We're in the middle of it right now, the Hicksville DRI.
So, yeah, Hicksville is great, and another point that was brought up was a lot of residents travel to Syosset or Hicksville. I live in Glenhead. We're along the Oyster Bay train line, which, for the lack of a better word, is garbage.
Understood.
Right? So, having more people, perhaps on the train line, or have it more accessible, could relieve some of the overcrowding that you have at the Hicksville train station parking lot, that Syosset train station parking lot. And perhaps it would help improve service if there are more people on the line, might get the MTA to get off their keisters to maybe improve service along the line.
So the answer to your question is yes, absolutely. We have won a $10 million competitive grant for revitalization in downtown Hicksville.
Or Hicksville, yeah.
But we're working with world-renowned planners, really amazing planners and architects that are helping us with the designs and the types of transit-oriented development that can be used in all of our downtowns. Yeah. We are looking to emulate what Farmingdale has done so successfully, what Patchogue has done so successfully. The difference in a Patchogue, and kudos to the mayor there and the board there doing a wonderful job, but they have built something to bring people to. In Hicksville, we already have people there. It's the busiest and most productive railroad station in all of Long Island.
Yeah.
So we're working with great people. We're building that template. We're working with the developers to find the best way to protect the residents who already live there, as well as encourage millennials and young people and young families there, and to create that very thing. We're very serious about that, and I'm going to ask you to please touch base with Frank. Frank, what is the website for people to go back to see back issues of your paper? You've done such a wonderful job reporting on all the progressive ideas and the new innovations that we've been doing in Hicksville, so you can see what we've been doing for me, it's over a year, but for people like this town board, especially Councilwoman McEnone and Councilwoman Alessia, as well as everyone on this town board, has been so active in for quite a few years. Frank, how does he look at for back issues? All spelled out. One word. Okay, so John, I suggest you take a look at LongIslandWeekly.com. Frank does an amazing job as a reporter who brings tremendous detail, attention. He provides all sides of the story. He does not put his opinion into any of his writing. and he provides a lot of factual information that you'll enjoy reading about exactly what we've been doing. Your idea is great. We encourage it, and we encourage more young people to see what we're doing. We find there's been so much talk of how do you keep young people on Long Island? And the reality is, as you have told us, and so many people like Ryan Coyne and so many folks joining with us in this process, is to build the kind of transit-oriented downtown that young people want to live in, and there'll be the path to their door.
Thank you.
And we thank you very much for taking part in the process.
Can I just have one more point?
Of course,
That's fine?
of course.
I know that it's not on the list. The Town of Oyster Bay E-Team, when it comes into my inbox, it has Joseph Saladino's name on it. Is it possible that it has Town of Oyster Bay when it comes into my...
We can, I believe it has that as well, but we will definitely talk to our folks in public information.
Okay.
And we'll continue to improve upon it all the time.
Not that I don't want to see your name, but,
It's no problem. It's no problem. It's all about the information, quite frankly.
That's really what it's really all about, but it would be also nice to just see Town of Oyster Bay.
Sure. And we also recognize we want people to know who all the contacts are, and we're happy to put the names of all of the officials. Remember, we answer to you. So by having all of our names, whether it be electronically or on a sign or on a mailer or all the different multitude of ways that we communicate, the whole idea is for the public to know who we are, to contact us, to open the lines of communication. And we found that by listening to the public, we've had a very good experience in this past year and a half.
Thank you.
Thank you. Agatha Nadell.
Thank you, Supervisor Saladino. Thank you, Town Board, for the opportunity to speak. I'm just getting over a little cold, so just bear with me.
Okay. Take your time.
You know why I'm here, because of New York American Water, as we like to call it, on American Water. And I just want to say that we're at a point in our community, which I'm not sure how much you know what we're at this point, but we're doing a letter writing campaign to Governor Cuomo. And we really feel that the only long-term solution is for condemnation and for a state takeover. And our hope for our community in the Seacliff District would be to merge with Jericho Water District. That seems to make the most logistical sense, would be the most seamless of a transition. We were fortunate, thanks to Newly County Legislator Lafazan, he brokered a meeting with them, just in, a very first type meeting. It was very just informational. And of course, what they said, which we knew it was coming, is that they need a feasibility study. So what I'm coming here to ask is that I hope that you can put some pressure on the state, on Governor Cuomo's office, and push for this feasibility study. And he's getting letters by the tens. We're getting them all out into the community. Hopefully he'll be flooded with them asking him for exactly that, for the feasibility study, for condemnation, and hopefully to merge with Jericho. We just do not see any other long-term solution. And having been a long-time resident of Glen Head when it was originally Seacliff Water, I can tell you that it's just getting worse and worse by the decade. And I just wanted to show you briefly, because no matter where I go, I'm trying to educate people when they ask me what the problem is. This is, I did a board that I'd like you all to see. This is a comparison of my water bill for 2017, that's almost $2,500, and my neighbor down the block for $500 that has Jericho. This is not, this is not chump change. And I know there's a view that the people on the North Shore are all hedge fund people and have trust funds and unlimited money. That's not the case, okay? I mean, I can tell you that I come from blue-collar roots. My grandfather worked for the town of Oyster Bay. I was the first one in my family to go to college. So I know what it is to work hard, and I know what it is to save and struggle. And this is it's just something I expect to see in a third world country with a dictatorship. I don't expect to see it in the United States of America, and I know since the Reagan administration that the federal funds have been cut year after year after year. But this is not just a local issue, it's a national issue. A lot of communities are fighting and winning. Some are not winning, but a lot are winning to get their water back. And I know water is sort of on the bottom of the totem pole, but my fear for my kids and anyone else's kids or grandkids, that it's going to become a situation where it's going to be, and I can't even believe I'm saying this, water is going to be have and have not, because people are not going to be able to afford it. And I think what's very important here on Long Island, because we're blessed to have a lot of municipalities, 90% of Nassau County does have municipal water, we have to fight to keep that municipal for those people too, because this can happen anywhere. In Bayonne, New Jersey, the city's sold out, those people are paying these kind of water bills. So my point is that I feel so strongly about this, not only for myself and my husband now, but for the future. And just to add insult to injury here, my kids, my two girls are in college 8 months of the year. So that is reflected in here. They're not even here. This is a larger family that uses more water, and it's just, it's so wacko, you know, for lack of a better word. So I just hope that you guys can support us in this fight, and whatever you can do, if it's just putting pressure on the governor. We really want to have this solved, and not 10 years from now. I mean, Great Neck North did it, is it North or South? I can't remember. The Great Neck District in '95 did it, and I was told it took them about 3 years. And that was then Assemblyman Tom DiNapoli, who helped write the legislation. So anything you can do, our
On that
community.
note, who represents you now in the state? Who's your state assembly member?
Oh,
Have you contacted him? It's partially his responsibility to represent you on state issues, to contact the governor. You have us. As I mentioned before, we are all on your side. We've been to the meetings, we've been to hearings, we have participated in the rallies. I personally live in a community served by New York American Water. You have us, and you will continue to have us. But to get the state to do this, my experience prior to coming here is over 13 years in the state assembly. They need to put a bill in and get that bill passed. That will be a tremendous help, and I would assume the best way to accomplish this is to have the state, not the ratepayers, pay the costs of purchasing all of those resources, which will be very expensive.
right, although we were hoping that if and when it gets to that point, which is our hope, that a judge, and in the research I've done across the country, those judges that are fair make a fair market value, you know, for their assets. It's not something, there have been situations where they've been very much inflated, particularly in the northern tier, and those people couldn't afford to take it back. I just don't know how much Assemblyman Levine, you know, he has Glen Cove Water. I don't know how much he really feels strongly about this. In the beginning, I did not get the impression from that first middle school meeting. I didn't get the idea that he was on our side. Now suddenly he's on our side because so many people are screaming about water being a natural resource. But he made an analysis, Supervisor, actually I think at a couple different meetings we had where, you know, he was saying what I was saying to you about the federal funds and about, you know, in a lot of the places across the United States, more rural areas are being strapped like this because the communities can only provide to the more densely populated areas. But that's not the problem in Nassau County.
Your infrastructure already.
Right, that's my point. It didn't even make sense. So I mean, I can try to contact him again, our group. I just don't really know how strong he feels about this issue, but I'm willing to try. I'm willing to try. But I just wanted to just say anything you guys can do. If you have any contacts with Governor Cuomo, that would be
and we have regular conversations with the state on many, many issues. We have continued. We have great partners in this. As I said, we've been to the meetings. I know that we have all taken turns at being at the different functions. So between the whole team here, we've been at everything. We report back and forth. We have been very proactive with the state. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, your state representative needs to pass a bill by the state legislature and the majority, and get that passed by the majority of members. And that with that state mandate, that's the mandate to get that done, and I'm just going to get that confirmed by our town attorney. Is that in fact the case?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And are state representatives in the position to get state funding to pay for those assets?
Okay. I just want to leave you with this, just as, you know, because I run into so many people, having lived in Glen Head my whole life and around the supermarket and whatever, and an elderly couple had said to me, who have, I guess, lived their whole lives in the North Shore, they said, Agatha, I never thought the deal breaker would be for me to move, would be my water bill. They always thought it might be the taxes. So I don't know them that well. I don't know what they're thinking for the future, but they just said, please continue to fight for us and for the future. So that's what we're trying to do. I just want to, you know, I think you know, Supervisor, it's a serious problem. And again, my concern is this is profit-mongering monster is just going to be out of control. 10 years from now, I can't even imagine what my water bill would be. So.
What's interesting to point out, thank you for bringing that illustration with you. I think that's very poignant. And just to bring things into clarity, we have, well, for the average home in the town of Oyster Bay, paying approximately $10,000 in property taxes, and obviously there are many wealthy neighborhoods that are paying more, but to just look at an average, the average home paying $10,000, if you pay $10,000 in your property taxes in total, you pay approximately $1,300 in property taxes to the town of Oyster Bay. Based on those numbers, you're paying almost double the amount for water that you're paying in as compared to your entire town of Oyster Bay portion of your property tax bill.
You don't have to remind me. You don't have to remind me.
But it's important that the people realize, you know, everyone talks about taxes, and they talk about their property taxes, and we're very sensitive to that. Obviously, we just passed a budget for this year that cuts property taxes $1.3 million. But when we see the fact that we have residents paying twice their town, one thing it says that reminds people that the town of Oyster Bay portion of your property taxes is actually a very good bargain and is quite low as compared. It's more expensive to pay. You pay a cable bill more than you pay the town, considerably more than you pay for all the services in the town of Oyster Bay. But we are on your side. We will continue to advocate with you. We will continue to make sure that your issues are heard in Albany. I'll be traveling to Albany very soon on a number of issues important to our town of Oyster Bay residents, and yours will be among the issues that we will be talking about in Albany.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
There's an expression.
Thank you for the chart.
Yeah, thank you. There's an expression that in the past century, wars were fought over oil. In the next century, they'll be fought over water.
That's exactly it, and that's what all the research I've done. It's very, very scary, and it's just the last decade, it's been a sleeper issue, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for being here with us this evening. Jonathan Bloom? He left, okay, and you addressed it. Thank you. So we took care of that. Thank you. Are there any other speakers that would like to speak in terms of our public comment portion? Yes, Mr. McKenna, why don't you come up?
Kevin McKenna, 3 Edna Drive, Syosset, New York. My legal address. Why you asked me that question, one will wonder. Speaking of
It's
water...
not a conspiracy, sir.
What's that?
It's not a conspiracy.
But you didn't ask anybody else if it was their legal address.
Sir...
No, why would you ask me that? I'm just curious.
We enjoy the company and the input and the good ideas of every honest resident who comes here or writes us or
I asked you a simple
contacts us.
question. Why'd you ask me if it was my legal address when I've been coming here for 2 years telling you that same address? And I'm just curious why you asked me, but don't worry about it. Speaking of water, and interestingly enough, the water problem is probably going to be more of an issue with this 1.4 dioxane that just made the news a couple days ago.
And the 200 other unregulated organics that are in our water that have been found in portions of the aquifer throughout Long Island. It's actually over 200. 1,4-dioxane has received a lot of attention in the media, but that's one of many, and we're pressuring the federal government to now regulate it.
It was in the news. I don't know whether it was accurate or not. It wasn't my news, because I'm not a newspaper reporter. But it was just in the paper that Hicksville has the worst. It was just reported that Hicksville has the worst situation as far as water 2 days ago. I don't know whether you saw that article.
I don't know how they're quantifying that. We think Hicksville is a wonderful place to live and a safe and healthy place, and it's getting better all the time.
Except for the water. But as far as water, when you first took office here, I wish that I didn't have to come off so negative. I really do, but
and we're in full agreement with you on that.
But I know. But I know that a lot of my aggravation that I've caused has made changes in the town. I know that. You're never going to let me know. I understand that. But that's why I continue to do it, because I see people changing and things getting done differently. And listen, the more ideas you get, some are good, some are bad. Anyway, going to water. When you first came, you promised the Baymen, these hardworking individuals here, that you were going to, being the environmentalist that you are, and I have no reason to not believe that, although before I do a whole spiel here, can you update us as to what progress has been made to determine whether or not, and I don't know the answer, to determine whether or not dredging is harmful to our harbor? What has not the state, not the federal government, what has the town of Oyster Bay done to determine that? Because there's a lot of people that deserve to know the answer. You know, I would think that you guys all want to know the answer.
So to answer your question, first of all, for years we've had board members involved in this issue. One of them, who's been doing a wonderful job, is Councilwoman Johnson. She has been meeting with all of the parties, because the Baymen are one of many groups concerned about the environment. So we've been meeting with all of the groups to gather information, but you have to understand that because of the science and the mandates of law, and we follow the law here, so because of those mandates, we must work with the DEC and the EPA on these issues. And just to clarify, for the record, when you brought up dredging, generally the problem is not dredging, because mechanical dredging has been going on for decades and decades. It's the hydraulic dredging which is in question. So the regulating authorities, including the EPA and the DEC, have been studying this issue. In addition to that...
That's different than what your town attorney's office told me today, but I'll let you continue.
Sir, thank you so much. That's so appreciated. So we are continuing to look at all of the data out there. We have been working with the public on public information on these issues to keep the public apprised on the progress.
The reason I'm asking is because the public doesn't know the progress.
Well, sir, maybe they should be looking at your news agency to get updates.
They are.
That would be wonderful.
They are, and I've spoken, they would have stayed, but it got late. I've obviously spoken to the Baymen.
Well, in the Baymen, we have been, I thought I was still answering your question, because we haven't gotten to the real crux of the
You're really
matter.
not answering the question.
We're out of time? All right, why don't you finish up, because we're right at the end of the time limit.
You love doing that, don't you?
Sir, everyone is allowed to speak.
You are truly
and
the
give their-
environmentalist that you say you are. You would be interested in hearing about this and talking about it.
I've been meeting with all of the agencies. We have been meeting with all the participants. But if you're going to take shots across my bow...
I'm not, but...
I do want to point out, we worked for 14 years...
Army
and
Corps of Engineers, you didn't mention them.
We just got $150 million to clean up the Grumman Navy plume hydrology.
Why hasn't the town determined, the question is, why hasn't the town, you just hired a consultant tonight, which I didn't get to
Why
bring
don't you
up.
finish your sentence?
You just
Why
hired a
hasn't
consultant
the town-
tonight for
Please don't jump around.
$225,000 to tell you what roads in the town of
That's
Oyster
not
Bay
an accurate
need to be
statement.
repaired. That's in the
not-
backup of the
it's
resolution.
not an accurate
It's not
statement
accurate. I
on
read it,
your
but it's not
part.
accurate.
You are
The question is, if you're going to spend money on all these, why wouldn't you hire a consultant to go and test the hydraulic dredging and see whether or not it's harmful to the bay? Your town attorney's office told me today.
Sir, to your question,
The Army Corps of Engineers
the answer to your
has
question.
been dragging out something, and nobody knows in the town what the Army Corps of Engineers is actually doing.
That's not an accurate statement, Mr. McKenna. Listen,
Mr. Ehrlich, who called me back today on the behalf of Mr. Muscarella, then needs to be informed. I'm just telling you what your town attorney's office told me.
Okay, Mr. McKenna, we
So
understand
as
the
I
conflict
started out,
you're bringing to the
it
table.
would be really nice if you could get the town concerned about the environment.
The town is very concerned.
And not allow the Army Corps of Engineers to continue to protect Flowers and Company.
Of course, sir.
Thank you, and have a good night.
Have a wonderful night. Thank you for your opinions and testimony. Are there any other speakers, anyone who would like to add to this? Anyone who would like to stretch this out for another couple of hours with information that's may or may not be helpful? No one? Mr. O'Connor, come on up, speak for another hour, please. Thank you for your earlier offer, by the way, to help us out. And Frank, thanks for sticking with us and continuing to do such a great job with unbiased news. We don't have enough of that in this town. We appreciate your efforts and professionalism. Thank you, everyone.